It's awesome.
Oh my.
Hey, everybody.
Not gonna get me singing. La, 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 la.
I was trying to hit it before while you were singing,
I
but
know.
it was too slow to like, yes, confirm. Yes. Yes, I want you to record.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
No singing.
Day 4.
Day 4.
Four.
Day
I
4.
know.
Final day. Final day.
Final day. I always
It's
feel.
the final countdown.
I feel oh, don't let me talk.
Yes.
I was to say you feel bittersweet. I will not miss this. I will not. I won't miss this at all. I'll miss Jason. I'll miss
Yes.
Megan. I'll miss you
Miss
guys.
the students, but not each other. No,
Yeah.
I love
We'll
hanging
miss-
out with y'all.
We'll miss you all. We'll miss me all.
We'll miss all of it. It's all delightful.
I'll miss myself.
I'll
It
miss
goes by
myself.
so fast. It really does.
It does. Even
does.
if this was the only thing that we were doing in a week, it still would go by fast. But the
I
fact
know.
that we are doing other things is
You're doing other things.
so many things.
This is, I've been only working 15 minutes each week like this.
That's why I'm
right here.
doing all the other things.
Ooh, it all comes out in the
I was
recording.
gonna say, if I was being a jerk, if I was Jason, I would say, if my name was Jason.
But it's hard to hear you past your hat.
It blocks the noise.
It's over here. I'll take it off.
She does that to shut down her peripheral vision.
It's a noise canceling.
I do have. It's not attached to my hats.
Project Raven, you will still have Discord for sure.
Here forever.
Yes.
Well, 6 months.
My new friend Jen.
Well, the Discord
Yeah.
lasts for 6 months.
Yes.
The recordings last for 6 months.
But
I mean,
Discord will be here forever.
Yes.
It probably lasts a lot longer, right? Because
Sure.
Jason, you don't go through and just like 6 months, you're like, and you're dick to me now.
We
Dick."
we
It's
just
extra.
changed the policy, so yes, we do that now.
Okay, all right, good.
And you will never.
We didn't change the policy. We're just enforcing.
We're saying the
Enforcing.
one that's been there since the
Policy.
beginning, yes.
Right, yes,
Right.
yes.
Please don't ever go, guys. You know, everyone's saying we'll never be rid of you. Thank you.
Yay.
Please don't go. Don't go.
Yeah, there definitely is a period of time where I'd looked at the server and I was like, that class was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I
Someone's
was,
asking
Yeah,
was-
about Wild West Hack and Fest. I got you.
October
Got you,
18th
Mike D.
through the 20th.
I was trying to be nice and leave them there for as long as possible, but
I'm sure that was the reason.
okay, all right, fine. I was just too busy. Okay, I've just been too busy.
What else are you doing? We went through all of our roles at the beginning and you're like,
I have.
a little bit of everything.
I'm reprogramming the Discord bot currently.
Oh,
So
You have
so
a
you're,
bot to help with things?
so you're learning
Yeah.
programming. Nice.
well, I've known programming. I'm just
Uh,
I'm fighting with discord.js right now, and it's very frustrating. So
we'll use that term loosely.
And liberally.
Yeah.
Project
Raven.
Draven.
Wild West Hack and Fest.
Yeah.
So my
That's
my
awesome.
favorite thing about Wild West Hack and Fest is it's essentially made of our students and people who watch our webcast.
Yeah.
And
It's
and a
it's
few other
very
people.
self-serving, I think.
Yeah.
We get to meet all the people that already love us.
What?
Yeah.
It's not
That's
about-
what I heard you say.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yes.
We get-
Hi,
luckily I get to go too. So
yeah.
Yay.
It means we don't have to introduce ourselves to 98% of the
That is true.
attendees there. It's more like, hey, Jason. I'm like,
Mhm.
hi.
Hi.
hi, whoever you are.
Nice to meet you, not on a screen. Yes, Constant R. We all want to go. I hope you get to go.
I want to go to Wild West Hack and Fest
Oh,
with a
John.
little
Please put a
Oh,
stop to the singing madness that Jason keeps
No.
insisting
We
on
can vote.
doing.
Who wants Jason to stop singing?
No.
No, John, you told him no.
Three.
He said
We
stop on
voted.
Monday.
We all head on down to Wild West Hack and Fest where you can get your Wild West Hack and Fest on.
I need to get some spoons to play.
Get your Wild West Haggafest on.
Get your Wild West Hackenfest on. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So name tags would have come in helpful.
That's
A lot
right.
of
Oh,
the
we do need to get the name tags going for the nerd herders.
yes.
Oh, and get them custom made like my
Their
name on
handle,
Discord
yes.
is
Yeah.
We
Yes.
did, Orthicon,
Orthicon,
Orthicon at
Yes.
Charm,
Navy Sport,
Navy Sports.
which
Nice.
I had no idea that's what the username was all this time. I was like, NVY Sport.
It's so funny how like you just pronounce things in your head so
Yeah.
differently. Like when I started reading Harry Potter, I didn't pronounce it Hermione. It was Hermione.
Yeah. That's all, actually, it's funny that you say that because yeah, I read it that way too. When the movie came out, I was like, I've been saying it wrong.
Yeah. I was
Hermione.
like,
So-
what?
So my daughter was telling me that she learned about communism in American history, and I was like, what?
Cute, like the spice.
She's like, yeah, we learned about communism and capitalism. I was like,
Oh, ouch.
CUM.
Oh.
Yeah.
My kids would know the spice human. So
Yeah.
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we get to tell her, or I get to tell her about how capitalism is the best of the worst situations.
It
and-
is.
Yeah. I always like it when you get into arguments. It's like, which of these two systems has killed more people? Fight. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh God.
Yes.
So-
It's pretty cute.
The communism, is that like the Cummins diesels? Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're
Kind of.
teaching in high schools these days.
And she's
Say it
17, you all.
Yeah.
Special.
She should have picked up, as they said, communism in class, that was.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got your logins for Cloud Lab should work for today. And if you didn't get one, email me. I got them all processed this morning. So shoot me another email if you didn't. So I'm trying to do my best to keep up and teach. In the future, it should be so simple that we'll have the nerd herders doing it.
Wow.
But I don't know. Like I said, the resolution to the Cloud Lab was okay. So this is funny. Do you want to know what happened with the Cloud Lab thing?
Yes.
I don't know if people care. All right. So what happened is all of the students could access other students' virtual machines.
Oh.
And
That doesn't sound great.
so I'm like, that's bad. So I contacted the Cloud Lab people and I was like, so this is bad. And they were like, oh, well, did you remember to go through and enable the client isolation? And I'm like, no. And I've got two questions. The first question is, where is that? The second question is, why is that not the effing
Yeah,
default?
that's
So
it's a feature.
yeah, they were like, oh yeah, we could probably make that. We should probably make that the default. I'm like, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
This reminds me of the cloud security expansion deck coming soon from Backdoors and Breaches, where
Tell me more, Jason.
I
We have a
believe
cloud
that-
security expansion deck
I
coming.
believe that's the card
From back
for the pivot and escalate
Oh,
is
is it?
to escape your tenant.
Oh, it
and
is.
Go into someone else's
It's
tenant.
cross tenant
Cross tenant.
access.
Yeah,
It's
that's
called.
always fun. We were doing a pen test where we did that. The customer gave us their domains and everything, and we're attacking anything with that domain in it.
Mhm.
And we managed to hack their law firm. Their law firm had completely wide open S3 buckets, and they had a specific domain dedicated to the customer that we were pen testing. And it wasn't hard. It was like we literally just walked up to the S3 bucket, opened it. It's like, oh yeah, there's no security.
It's like,
Oh my God. Like, and of course, initially the conversation was, well, why did your pen testing firm like access this? I'm like, because we were hired to.
Yeah.
But you
not?
can't, you accessed a whole bunch of proprietary data. Yeah, because it was wide and exposed to the open internet. And one of the people was like, well, we're going to get the Department of Justice involved in this. I'm like, no, you're not, because they have new guidelines that say good faith security researchers, they're not going to bring charges. You got any proof of that? I'm like, yeah, here's the article. And they're like, okay. So I think that they're now hiring us to do their pen test, which is needed,
Nice.
which is the right answer.
Right.
You know, it's the
exactly.
right thing to say, you know what? I like the cut of your jib. I hire you guys.
Yeah.
So,
We told you about it.
yes.
yeah. So the cloud instance, I'm not sharing. So let me go ahead and get logged into my cloud instance, and I can kind of
It's like,
show you a
that's
couple of things.
weird.
It is VNC. So you're getting a free VNC instance that you can use, which I think is really, really, really super cool. I just want to sign in to Google Mail. Google, that would be awesome.
Nice. Yeah, Airbnb.
For some reason, I have like 95 Cloud Labs accounts. It's weird. It's been that kind of day. I'm doing my best not to
Waymoso.
share my password with everybody. By the way, I shared my password with everybody.
Yeah, oopsie.
We
scrubbed
did
that.
get it scrubbed. So
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
And Deb and Jason are going to change it for me. And
Oh
and
yeah,
last-
I already done.
no, you didn't.
We
Did-
did.
It's not updated.
Not in LastPass, but in the secret.
Yeah,
Service.
yeah.
uh,
Okay, I haven't made the secret server thing.
Oh,
Son.
Yeah, conversion yet.
Yeah, I was
I was
texting.
5 minutes late today figuring out my secret server.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick about how you emailed us your password, and he was like, I'm gonna pretend I did not see that.
This
Look,
is-
I want you to think of it like this. Think of it from a risk perspective, right?
Yes.
Think of it as a risk perspective. If somebody has access to all of our emails, we're effed.
Yes,
Like
correct.
it doesn't matter like at that point. And I needed to make sure that you all could get into it right away. If you want to go through and update the password and update it in secret server, you can, but I wanted to make sure the team could still get access to do work. Because I think there's a lot of stuff associated with my account.
Yeah, we always join any Zoom call as John,
Yeah,
just so you know.
just John Strand shows up.
It freaks people out. I like it. I don't want to do
Yeah,
it.
we freaked out Red Canary.
know, I
yesterday.
went
It was
like-
freaked out.
Always
When-
freaking out.
When Jason and I are just sitting chit chatting before, we're like, it's John Strand coming over. Like, is it the real John?
Is this the real
Do we have
John?
to be professional yet?
Well, the
For
real
half an
John
hour,
Strand,
haven't
please
been-
stand up. Please stand up. All
All
right.
right, John,
So-
it's noon. It's all yours.
I want to, and I want Deb and Jason and Megan to see this because I think it's really cool. So
Okay.
this is Cloud Labs. So if a student wants to access Cloud Labs, they can start up an instance. So I'm going to start the gold instance because I like gold.
Yeah.
So it's starting up that instance right now.
Yellow
And-
or what?
So give it a couple of seconds for it to spin up, and I should.
4 hours remain.
Yeah.
So it gives them 4 hours at a time.
Yep. It gives them 4 hours at a
Oh,
time.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it doesn't stay up all the time. So now I have one up and running and I can access said one. And you're going to see it booting here in a second. When people come in, you can see Windows is booting. When they come in, they're like, the screen is too small. You can choose how you want to access your Cloud Lab environment. You can make it so it's responsive. So it's going to be a smaller resolution window. But you can also set it to a larger resolution as well. This resolution seems to work pretty well for most of what we do. The other thing that I like is this. I can go into my GitHub repository and I can open up my GitHub Labs here in a fast browser. And I don't even have to load them inside of the Cloud Lab. So what I can do is I can copy text from this window, and then I can go into Cloud Labs. There we go. Here we are. I can make the resolution a little bit bigger. Go. All right, now I can close out that Windows terminal, and I can actually paste in the commands directly in. So normally what I would do inside of the VM is I would have the instructions and the commands that we're running up on the same machine. So what I can do now is I can actually split these two things up. So I can take this one and break it down like that, do that. And now I've got pretty much the exact same type of thing that we talk about in setting up our labs set up here and ready to go. Yeah, sure. We'll make this open so anyone can access my system. I don't see anything wrong with that. That seems legit.
Yeah.
So now I can open up Ubuntu and I can now type clipboard text. And once again, it's not fast. Like it's a full Windows machine that is running in the cloud and it's free for students to use. But I'm going to try to keep it up and running for you all for probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks. So you all can access it. And there we go. So now I can actually type the clipboard text in. So we can go allow. And now you can see it's taking the commands that I have over here and it's typing them over here. So I have the speed of being able to render my labs in here. And now everything just kind of works. So I go type clipboard text. we
So
go.
will they not need as much like system memory and stuff?
The entire thing runs in your browser. So there is
Cool.
no virtualization at all. So it's completely browser based. You don't need to have a super awesome computer. You can totally run this entire thing in your browser. So even if you have a Chromebook now, you can actually do our labs in like somebody just all they have is just a Chromebook and they can do it there.
What about, I get questions about like iPads and stuff.
I think you
So-
probably could do it in an
Okay.
iPad now. It's kind of weird. It doesn't look like the resolution actually changes like whenever I do this. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
So I have my iPad Air. I can test it.
Yeah, if you want
Um,
to test it, just send me well, Jason, I'm going to send you to your BHIS account. All right. So it can
Okay.
go. But
Well-
no, this I think is a great solution for people
Yeah.
As a really
that
cool
they,
time.
they can't access the VM for whatever reason. Is it super awesome? Like, does it give you full functionality and everything that you wanted to speed? No. Is it going to work, albeit slowly? Hell yes. So I
So-
really, really, really dig this as kind of the way that we're going. And there's an organization and people that we're working with that are kind of funding this. And the reason why they're funding it, and they don't want us to be like public about who they are yet, but they're really, really huge supporters of the whole pay what you can model. And they want to support as many people getting started at it
Nice.
as well.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's surprise. It's the NSA. Kidding, I'm kidding. It's not the NSA. It's the Lockbit ransomware group. No. Yeah.
So
So
since
go
this
ahead.
is in the browser, John,
Yeah.
people with M1 Mac should be able to do
Yes.
this as well.
Yes. So this fixes
Okay.
the M1 Mac problem, the virtualization problem, not enough memory problem. It solves every single one of those problems that we have. So
Nice.
I'm basically telling people, yo, this will work. And if they're like, well, it would be faster if it was running on my local machine, it would. But this allows us to spool up and scale to 1,000 people doing the labs virtually. So
Nice.
it's very,
Awesome.
very, very
That's
cool.
Very, very cool.
So.
That is.
Project
Very,
Draven
very
said, I thought
exciting.
M1 Max could use VirtualBox. No, you can't. That was not true. You cannot get VirtualBox working with a Intel processor. So that just does not work. So no, I like I said, I'm really, really excited about this. I think it's neat. It's a great resource. We have people, hopefully they'll be like, yeah, so JK's got a problem. Oh my God. Try spooling up another image. That is really, really weird. Did you spin up gold? Yeah, you spent up the anti-siphon image test. Go for gold. Go for the
Go
gold.
for the
Go
gold.
for gold.
You
Go for
guys are all
gold.
golden.
So there you
And
go.
so this
Huh.
you're saying is going to be available for like a couple of weeks after class,
Yep.
and it's in 4-hour sessions.
Yes. And the
Okay.
other thing that it's going to have is they're going to clean out all of these copies of all these other images here. We're also going to have Chris Brenton's virtual machine is going to be loaded up in here. And we're also going to put Kali inside of this virtual machine as well. So like I said, I am super excited with the group that we're working with. I think it's just the neatest thing out there. So if you want access to it, you can shoot me an email with the title of Sasquatch. And I've got a filter for Sasquatch, and I'm adding in these requests to get them into the lab. Like I said, totally not super fast, totally not the best resolution, but we're spinning up we're going to be spinning up thousands of Windows virtual machines, and the group is offering it to us for free, which I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth. All right.
It's like you say, it's the cat's pajamas.
It's the cat's pajamas. Yes, absolutely. Love that. Anything with
right.
kitties. Kitties are awesome. All right. So I'm going to share my screen to my virtual or to my slides. Let's get rolling. Deb, Jason, Meg. Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to see these folks in about 50 minutes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some laws that are currently in conversation. There's been some modification of different laws that have been coming through over the past couple of years. And one of these laws is called the AC/DC law. And I honestly can't remember what the hell they had AC/DC go with, but at any rate, we'll be able to kind of communicate with that and kind of break it down. For the record, I'm a pretty firm believer in active defense. You know that. This is what I've been talking about for the past few days. I love active defense, and it's really weird to start seeing articles and people now saying, active defense and cyber deception and honey files are the future of intrusion detection. And I'm like, you know what? I've been saying this for like 10 years now. It doesn't bother me. What does bother me, there's one cyber deception vendor that called me up out of the blue. This was last year. Just called me up out of the blue and they said, "Is this John Strand?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cyber deception vendor X." Successfully catches Black Hills Information Security.
John, you kind of broke up there for a little bit.
All right. So yeah, do you like cyber deception because our product caught you? And I'm like, look, I've been advocating cyber deception for like 10 years. Yeah, but one of your recent engagements, the customer came to us and said that they detected and I've been teaching and
Okay. He's there, but he's frozen. I'm sure he's going to figure it out.
I'm gonna blame solar flares.
Definitely. Gremlins.
There we go. He's back.
am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
back. But I just love that it was frozen on the Justin Bieber shirtless.
Like
It's just
seriously. But you can hear me, right?
perfect. Yeah,
there-
now we can
there
hear
are
you.
my mics.
Yes.
There are my mics doing the mic thing.
Yeah.
All right, microphone check. So at any rate, they were really proud of their new technology that allowed them to remotely crash Zoom sessions anytime anyone was talking about their product. So no, they were just really, really, really super mean. And they were going to go public with the fact that they could catch my company and all these things. And it kind of pissed me off. It was like, I don't know if you heard the Dune quote, but I was basically like, go to the place that you dare not look and you will see me staring back at you. Like, I'm not going to rip or advocate a specific product or another. And it was just kind of a pain, right? So yeah, I'm a believer. I love this stuff. I think it's great. And most vendors are super cool about it, but some of them are kind of mean. I am not a believer in strike back. We've kind of established that in the slides over the past few days. I don't like strike back, not just because it's illegal, but because I fundamentally believe that it's immoral. And the reason why is you'll be bringing down other services and servers that are not the attacker's systems. And we'll once again revisit that venom and poison. And if anybody ever asks you if you're a believer, look down and whisper no. All right. So poison. Once again, when we're talking about poison, we're talking about something that you have to interact with, like the band Poison. The band Poison is completely harmless. I mean, if you put Poison up against a bunch of IT geeks, it would be the lamest fight of all time, right? And you're not afraid of these people if you're walking down a street. That's just like, yeah. Now, Motorhead, if you're walking down the street and you see Motorhead or have seen Motorhead back in the 80s before Lemmy passed away, that would be terrifying, right? Oh my God, I've looked out again. Can you still hear me? All right, I'm good. Awesome. Yeah, Lemmy didn't die. He went home, right? But the only way that Poison as a band is dangerous is if you bring them home. Don't bring them home ever. Not even once, right? So when you're thinking of poison, it's something that needs to be taken. A frog, a plant, we apply this to IT, and an attacker has to steal on their system. All right, I'm going to set up a scenario for you. I'm going to pick a large organization. Let's say Valley National Bank. Did I just go off again? I just saw a whole bunch of mouths go, ooh. All right. So I want you to think of Valley National Bank. Let's say hypothetically, I'm pen testing a customer. Let's say the customer is like General Electric. Am I off again? Can I get thumbs up if you can hear me?
We can hear and see
We
you.
can hear you. Yeah.
I've got nopes. You're good. All right. Thank you. It's going to be just one of those days. Yeah. Because Limp Bizkit references. So I break into customer X. Let's just say it's General Electric, which is totally not a customer of ours. But I break into General Electric as a hacker. And I've completely screwed up my analogy because I'm flustered. I think it was the Limp Bizkit thing. Once again, a band that you totally wouldn't be afraid of to see in the alley. But let's say hypothetically, somebody breaks into Black Hills Information Security. Let's do that. Okay. Somebody breaks into Black Hills Information Security and steals one of our honey docs, one of our documents that tracks the attacker, right? So those attackers break in and steal something from BHIS. They then take it over to Valley National Bank, because they're in the news, and they open it at Valley National Bank. It sets up a persistent beacon from Valley National Bank back to Black Hills Information Security. Two separate questions. Can Valley National Bank sue me if they were in fact a viable financial institution? Could they sue me? Because one of my files that a hacker took from my environment, pivoted through Valley National Bank, opened it, and it came back to BHIS. I like, yes. Maybe. Okay. So let's think about, should they sue me? Would it be wise for them to sue me? You see, I have to explain the beacon, but they have to explain, why is my intellectual property on their system, and how did it get on their system, and how were they compromised in the first place? So while it's possible that you can always be sued, and it's one of my big pet peeves in this industry, there are always people that anytime you talk about doing anything, they're like this wet blanket that's like, oh, if we did that, we might get sued, and we could get sued, and there would be a lawsuit again. That's always true. That is like a constant true statement, right? So you always can be sued. The question is, can you be sued successfully? And if you have a conversation with these companies many, many, many times, if you point out to them, which I totally have done in the past, if you decide to bring a lawsuit against us, we're going public with it. If you're going to press charges, we're going public with it. And we're going to make it clear that our honey doc, our tracking element, somehow ended up on your systems. And the only way that it could get there is if somebody actually attacked you, right? So when you're looking at this, you've got to look at it. How does that poison end up in somebody else's hands if you have it protected on your environment, right? So that's why it's absolutely great. We are not doing strike back technologies at all. So let's go through some good things in this law, some things that I think are pretty solid and are pretty cool. Congress determines, which sounds really official, doesn't it, that the use of active cyber defense techniques when properly applied can also assist in improving defenses and deterring cyber crimes. These are true statements. Most crime that happens because criminals believe the risk to them getting caught is low. This is a psychological thing called broken windows, which has all kinds of interesting history with it. But one thing is true. If somebody's walking through a neighborhood and there's a lot of broken windows, they're more likely to break windows in that neighborhood because it's advertised that no one's doing anything about breaking windows. Now, there's also a lot of racial overtones because they tried to implement the broken windows theory in New York under Giuliani when he was mayor. And they basically were like, no frisk stops and all kinds of things. I'm not talking about like the racist crap that happened with it, but the core idea is If people believe the risk to them committing a crime is low, they will commit more crimes. If they believe that the risk to them is high, they will commit fewer crimes in that specific area. So if you look at like, no, that's not John Maynard Keyes. That's not, I don't know how we ended up in Tool. At any rate, so what we're trying to do is increase the perceived risk for the attackers trying to break into systems. Still okay. Computer defenders should also exercise extreme caution, politics, and violence to avoid violating the law of any other nation where the attacker's computer may reside. Like that too. Yeah, I'm probably going to read you the whole thing. Exception for the use of attributional technology. So it's talking about crimes and the things that you actually can get into trouble for. And it says that you cannot, that's why it says exception for the use of attributional technology. What this is saying in section K1 is it's okay. It says the section shall not apply with respect to the use of attributional technology in regard to a defender who uses a program, code, or command for attributional purposes that beacons or retains locational or attributional data in response to a cyber intrusion to identify the source of the intrusion. Remember, we went back to those laws, the Jerome Hackenkamp law, the systems administrator got IP address and MAC address. If we look at Susan Clements Jefferson, one thing for a computer system to report its geolocation information or IP address in an effort to track it down, it is another thing entirely to violate federal wiretapping laws to do so. So what we're stating is what the line is and what it exists. The program, code, or command originated on the computer of the defender, but is copied or removed by the unauthorized user. That's poison. They're setting it up on your system, and if an attacker breaks into your system, they pull it back. It's removed. The program, code, or command does not result in the destruction of data or result in impairment of essential operating functionality of the attacker's computer system or intentionally create a backdoor enabling intrusive access to the attacker's computer. What this means is you can't have persistent access on this system. All right, so why is this good? Because really, as defenders, the only thing that we really need at the end of the day is I want to know the IP address and maybe the location of where an attacker is. Where they surf, I don't care. I don't care about their porn habits. I don't care about their browser history. I really don't care what files they have on their computer system. The only thing I care about is where they are. That's it. And when we're looking at this, ads from Google and Microsoft and Apple, they are literally tracking you constantly. You simply try to find something via GPS. They're tracking you constantly. So we can actually do attribution without breaking existing laws because there's literally hundreds of companies that make tracking their freaking business model. And I'm going to come back to that here in a couple of moments. So malware samples. The definition of attributional data means digital information such as log files, text strings, timestamps, malware samples, identifiers such as names, internet protocol addresses, and metadata. This is getting into threat intelligence. I actually talked to a number of people associated with drafting this law in Congress, and clearly I was not the only one. Clearly there was somebody that was talking to them and trying to say, this is threat intelligence. We should have threat intelligence in here, which fine, whatever. Establish attribution of criminal activity to share with law enforcement and United States government agencies responsible for cybersecurity. I'm okay with sharing. I think sharing is a good idea. At this point, the only way that this can go really bad is if we actually make it a requirement for law enforcement or the United States government to be part of this overall process. But I'm sure they wouldn't do that, right? Right? Wait. So all of this is cool, right? We can do word web bugs, geolocation applications, callback PDFs, Excel spreadsheets, HTML code, honeypots. Once again, not entrapment. We've already talked about that. Honeypots are not entrapment. Digital code signing certificates and owning the certificate revocation list. Callback videos looking for a higher resolution. All of this is in play. This is cool. We like this. So far, we're on board. Now we start getting into things like disrupt continued unauthorized activity against the defender's network or monitor the behavior of an attacker to assist in developing future intrusion techniques. This could have been more clarified because the way it's written, it almost seems like you can disrupt it on the attacker's computer system. The intention of this particular part of the law as it was written was basically you could disrupt it on your own network, like creating IP address rules, shutting these things down, not necessarily the attacker system, but this is something that needs to be tightened up in this law. But it says you can do these things. You can perform reconnaissance on an intermediary computer system. You can do attribution for the origin of persistent cyber intrusion, intentionally result in intrusive remote access to the intermediary's computer system, results in persistent disruption of the person. So these are things that you cannot do, and that's fine at this particular situation. Would phishing be considered entrapment? No, I don't think so. You cannot, yeah, let me clarify. You cannot do these things. I slipped up there. All right, so I'm still reading to you, sorry. ACDC has a very high standard for defenders. If a defender behaves improperly or recklessly, they will still bear the full penalty of law. That's basically gaining access to systems without authorization is not cool. And this second paragraph on here, this looks like a relatively innocent paragraph, like it has words and letters, and those are seldom a problem. Additionally, the bill requires reporting to the FBI-led National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force before taking active defense measures, which would help law enforcement. God damn it. The bill also includes voluntary review process through the Joint Task Force that individuals and companies can utilize before using active defense techniques. So this is where, yeah, so this is where Congress like goes off the road, which is weird because they're usually so well reasoned. Their thought is before anybody does this stuff, they have to get approval from the FBI to do it. This is weird because it would actually make cyber active defense illegal. And let me explain. The purpose of the law is to make it legal. That's its goal. That's its thrust. That's its objective. But by saying you have to get approval from the FBI to do it before you do it, it kind of makes it illegal. And the reason why is the FBI agents that I talked to, they literally, no, it came out after the book, Gausek. They literally said, we were just going to have an autoresponder that tells people not to do it. Because they don't have enough FBI agents or people to handle all of this stuff. There's just no way to do it. I also kind of hate laws that require us to get permission from the government before we do something. That seems weird. And I also want to make it very clear, there's people that are like, he must be a libertarian and a sovereign citizen. No. He might be a start craving liberal. No. Odds are, regardless of your political persuasion, I would probably piss you off eventually. I've just worked in the cyberspace long enough to know that if we're relying on the government to ride in and save the day, we are screwed. And this is us requiring the government, specifically a branch of law enforcement that doesn't have enough people to give us authorization to do something that we should be doing as well. Right down here. The bill requires reporting to the FBI-led National Investigative Task Force before taking defense measures, which will help law enforcement ensure the responsibility, right? And so, yeah, it says voluntary review process through the task force companies could utilize before utilizing it. So, no, they would literally just go through and just say don't, because they can't deal with it. So why is this bad? I can understand a disruptive and monitoring an attacker seems like a good idea. And the thought process is that we could hit and take over or break into innocent computer systems as well. But it's easy to see who's neutral and who's bad in some of the real world scenarios, but in the cyber world, it's a little bit more difficult. So I want to once again call out collateral damage. I had this like few slides ago where I was talking about disruption. I really, 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 really hope if there's any law, if they get around to writing a law, that we get a little bit better at describing what that actually is, and specifically saying disruption of communications on your own network is fine, right? Because it's almost impossible to differentiate as somebody that's doing cyber deception and active defense, what is a good process and what is a bad process. And we might run into a situation where we start thinking we're degrading the bad process, and then all of a sudden we're actually crashing a remote computer system. which is an incredibly effective way of dealing with the attacker. Probably not the best way though, right? So we've got to be careful on this. If an attacker deployed a malware sample in your environment, can you argue this malware becomes your company's property and you're just exploring to see what it does in good faith? Yeah, you can absolutely do that. You wouldn't make that argument that it's yours and you're exploring it in good faith, but there's absolutely no way anyone would basically say you're interfering with our intellectual property in that situation. So FBI notification requirement. It basically says notification requirement for the use of active cyber defense measures. This is actually in conflict with the other thing that I told you about. A defender who uses active defense measures under the preceding section must notify the FBI National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force and receive a response from the FBI acknowledging the receipt of the notification prior to using the measure. Oops. Yeah. So we talk about all of this, and it oftentimes comes up. People complain and they say, but attribution is hard. I don't know if I want to do that. And the bad guys may detect these things. And once again, I'm okay with that. I think that's a good thing, right? Simply because attribution has some issues doesn't mean it's worthless. A number of years ago, I got into an argument with Dave Attell, like a long time ago. And he was talking about user awareness training. And he was like, user awareness training fails, right? You know, we shouldn't do user awareness training because it has a failure rate of about 20%. And my argument back to Dave was, if we throw away everything in security that has a failure rate, right? Then your vulnerability assessments are out the door. Your antivirus is out the door. Your intrusion detection system is out the door. Your SIM is absolutely out the door. You're not going to have any of those things. So you shouldn't be looking at anything in computer security through the lens of, is this perfect? Is this going to have a perfect success rate? And there are totally a-hole offensive security people that think that way, right? Like as soon as you come up with a defensive thing, and I'm guilty of this too, where they basically say, well, you know, if you actually implement that, I can totally get around it by doing this. And once again, that's not getting us to the point where we're actually getting better. And the point is, can we make the attackers afraid? The point is, can we actually slow down the attackers when they know these things are in play? And the answer is, especially for the last bullet point, 100% yes. So wrapping up this section, we need to get away from the concept of hacking back, right? We have all these people that talk about hacking back and it's a bad idea. And we've really bundled all of this cyber deception, active defense stuff together in a bundle with the concept of hacking back. And that's a problem. It's a disservice to any of these kind of future looking security technologies. We have this huge range of different things that are out there that we can use, and we don't necessarily need a new law to do it. We do need a warrant anytime we're trying to cross the line and getting persistent access on this as well. I should have a cyber law and ethics class. Maybe I should. It's kind of hard for me. I had a friend who was a cyber law expert, Ben, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But yeah, I was hoping he would come and write a class for us. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit more about attribution as we're transitioning into this, right? We start getting into some of this stuff. So attackers, it's funny, I talk to people and I mentioned Tor and anonymizing networks and things like that. And I have people that argue with me and say, well, you know, Tor, attackers don't use Tor. And that's absolutely incorrect. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, let me know that you have no idea what you're talking about in like 2 sentences or less. If you say, well, attackers don't use these types of things, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're just trying to be openly contrarian just to be an a-hole, right? So this is an example from the Capital One attack. Thompson allegedly used an anonymity network, Tor, and the VPN IP predator while breaching Capital One, exfiltrating data and posting about it on GitHub in April. And she seemed confident they would protect her identity, but these tools are far from foolproof ways. How she actually got busted is some of the people that she was like on a Slack channel with, they basically saw the stuff she was posting on Slack and kind of turned her in. In fact, some of her friends were like, hey, you're kind of doing some sketchy shit. Don't go to jail, please. After Thompson allegedly posted a link to information about the data, her username Erratic replied, I want to get it off my server. That's why I'm archiving all of it. It's all encrypted. I just don't want it around though. Another screenshot shows Thompson allegedly messaging people over Twitter, direct message. I basically strapped myself with a bomb vest, dropping Capital One boxes and admitting it. I want to distribute those buckets, I think, first. So the point is, this is somebody that was absolutely going through and was actively attacking networks through anonymizing proxies. So when we're talking about active defense and cyber deception and attributional technologies, we truly have to take into account, how do we deal with an attacker that is using these attributional technologies? You're right. Wait a minute. I thought Thompson transitioned to a she. I didn't think she was there. I might have gotten that wrong. If I misgendered her, I apologize. And that's the thing that sucks, is when I was working this case and kind of getting to know her through her hacking and all the things that they were doing. Erratic, I'll just use the handle. Erratic seemed to me like somebody who like had some issues and was probably a good person most of the time, and really, really, really had a very, very, very bad run. And it didn't go well on that as well. Last line. All right. I don't know. All right. So yeah, I don't want to say it's a bad break. And the other thing that Erratic could have done is could have shared this information with Capital One, could have even gone public with it and done like good faith security research. And they didn't do that. And the other thing that happened with Erratic is they were also basically crypto mining, using the exact same technique to access S3 buckets and doing crypto mining. So there wasn't much of a case in this situation. It was a pretty easy, so she, her is right. Okay, cool. All right, there you go. All right, so why attribution? Well, we want to get the bad people, right? We want to know where they are. However, if you're being attacked by a nation state, getting the bad guys might not be the thing that you think it is, right? Because there's diplomatic immunity, right? So why would you do this? Well, one of the reasons is we can know what they're after. And two, we desperately want to understand what it is that they already have. And this helps you better design the defenses in your organization and understand how much you need to allocate for this issue as well. So this gets back to active defense is, in fact, a threat intelligence aspect as well. So if we're dealing with Tor, I think understanding a little bit of Tor is kind of important, right? A very, very, very few penetration testers do this. It's something that we've been doing a lot of lately, where we're using things like IP ricochet, because I don't have a botnet to bounce things off of. Wow, somebody got my Lethal Weapon 2 reference. Very well played, very well played. And you really don't see it in a lot of firms, but a lot of really good red teaming firms. Once again, if you're looking at like Trusted Sec and Secure Ideas and Guardians and Red Siege, they are doing this, right? They are absolutely doing kind of an indirection. And they might bounce through Tor, they might come through a botnet as an attacker, and there's going to be some level of indirection, and we need a way to deal with that indirection. So one of the things that we can do is we can look at how does something like Tor actually work. So what happens is you make a connection, an encrypted connection into the Tor network. Once you're in the Tor network, unfortunately, the slide doesn't show it correctly. It bounces through 3 or 4 different nodes, and it creates a circuit, hits an exit node, and goes out to the system that you're connecting to. All right. So when it does that, it establishes the circuit until it becomes unstable, and then it attempts to reestablish a new circuit going through it. All right. So it makes a circuit, stays there. Now, quick question for those of you that have actually surfed the internet through Tor. Is Tor something that you would refer to as snappy? Is it a fast browsing experience? Is it even pleasant to surf through Tor? No, it's absolutely horrible, right? It's bad. It's bad. So how can you take your attacker tools and run them through, right? There's a couple of different ways. You can use Tor through your browser. You can also set it up for a variety of applications and do like a SOCKS connection and proxy chains your connections from your hacker tools through Tor by hitting something like proxy chains. You can even tunnel like Nessus and Metasploit through it. If it's done right, it's great. If it's not right, I'm going to be able to see your real IP address. So we have to spend some time trying to understand how this actually works. So if we look at an Nmap scan, all right, so if I run proxy chains Nmap against your IP address, literally doing that and configuring proxy chains to go through Tor, and I run Nmap through it, let's go through which of these packets would go through it. So before we get too crazy, the thing you need to know is that when you run proxy chains or any tool that's allowing you to run your port scanner or attacking tools through a proxy, it wraps the TCP connect function. All right. So it wraps the TCP connect function. So let's go through each one of these in a little bit more detail. I need the highlighter. All right. So we're going to take, I'm going to draw. So let's start with this first one. Is this first one going to go through TCP connect? Ladies and gentlemen, boys of all ages, you can see the first type of ping that it does is an ICMP echo request. Is this going to go through TCP connect? No, it is not, because it's ICMP. Okay. That also means that this ICMP timestamp request is not going through TCP connect. Now, what about this ACK packet, this acknowledgement packet? Would that go through TCP connect? Anyone? Would that go through TCP connect? It's TCP. When you connect over TCP, what is your first packet? What is your first packet? It's a SYN. Notice it is an ACK packet. All right. So that one won't go through TCP connect either. Now we finally get to the last one I want to talk about. Here we have a SYN packet. Finally, a SYN packet. Is that going through TCP connect whenever you scan with Nmap? Anyone? We got a couple of people. People are like, he's asking. Therefore, it's a trap. Yes, it is in fact a trap. You fool! None of these, not a single one of these initial ping packets is going to go through the TCP connect function. Not one. Question is, why? Why is it not a single one of these packets would go through TCP connect? Well, quick. Let's go to the command line. Once again, quick to the command line is not something anyone who has ever dated in high school said. All right. So if we look at man Nmap, right? Zoom in. There we go. If I look at Nmap and I do a search for ST like that, it says these are the different types of scans that you have. You have a SYN scan, connect scan, ACK scan. And if I keep going down right here, it says a TCP connect scan is the default TCP scan used when a SYN scan is not an option. This is the case when a user does not have raw socket packet privileges. Instead of writing raw packets to most other scans do, Nmap asks the underlying operating system to establish the connection for the target machine and ports by issuing the connect system call. This is done as the same high level call as browsers, PDP clients, most network level things. So if you run Nmap without the ST option, every one of your packets that you have is going to go directly to the victim's computer system, and they're going to see your real raw IP address. So if you want to do it the wrong way, this is what it looks like. If you want to do it the right way, we're doing a number of different things. The first thing we're saying is don't ping. We say don't ping because we do not want to send any ICMP echo request packets whatsoever towards the system. The next thing that we say is do a full connect scan because it then runs through the TCP connect function on the computer system in that situation. And then it works. And as an added bonus, it's like super duper slow. If you do it this way, it is a very, very, very slow scan to run this way. So attribution, getting into it, we're now going to be talking about some Active Directory things that we can implement in our environment. The next one we're going to do is canary tokens. And this is going to take us up to and through the break where we have a lab playing with Canary tokens. The results of Canary tokens are pretty awesome. I want to give you all a heads up. I haven't let Haroon know. Crap, I didn't let Haroon know. There's a very strong possibility that we're going to give the Canary tokens web server the BHIS hug of death. It may take a while for some of your alerts to come through because I'm an idiot and I didn't let Haroon Mir know that we were going to be using this server during our class today, which is kind of a bit of a problem. But whenever you open up one of these Canary documents, it basically generates this alert and it says what type of channel, what is the date timestamp, the token, the reminder, the user agent string, and sometimes you'll get the geolocation of the IP address, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. One of the coolest things about Canary tokens, though, is you actually have the full GitHub repository. So you can implement Canary tokens on your own environment. So everything is right here. Also, one of the best people in the world, Casey Smith or Sub-T, if I can find him here. That's not him. That's not Casey. No where he's at. But Casey Smith is one of the contributors to this, and Casey's been on a tear over the past few days or few months, actually. So amazing functionality, and we get to use it for free because Canary tokens has a full version of it that is available. And there's also a Docker image that you can run as well. So we're going to be playing with the one that they provide to us. Like I said, we may run into some instability, but that's okay. So now we have a lab with Canary tokens, and it's just super easy peasy to do. Let me share my screen. If I go over here, we've got our intro labs like this, and we are going to be doing Canary tokens. And it gives you a rundown of the different Canary tokens that you can generate. And I'd recommend running this on a machine that you have Microsoft Word with, so you can try the Microsoft Word tokens. And what I want you to do, if you get through Word relatively quickly, is try out some of the other tokens. Casey's added a bunch of really cool ones. We have WebBug, DNS token, AWS keys, Azure login certificate, sensitive command token, document Excel spreadsheet, credit card token, cube config, WireGuard VPN, cloned website, just so many different types of tokens that you can create. And if anybody runs any of these things, then it basically beacons back. All right, so that's it. It's going to take us up to and through the break. We will resume at 10 minutes after. If you all can do me a very solid favor, as you're getting an alert or you're finding out which tokens worked and which ones didn't, please post it in Discord. And by the way, it may take a while for some of the alerts to come through because we do tend to overload the Canary token server. Walk through the lab, and we will see you all in just about 24 minutes.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
See if we
Hello.
scared anyone.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Oh,
Oh, hi.
Hello. Hello. Nice.
yeah.
It's a great
Jason.
gift, Jordan. Great gift.
It doesn't matter how we come back, we still scare someone. Sorry
Yes.
about that. You sounded like a predator.
He
No.
is not a predator. See, you thought I was going to say he is a predator, but he's not. He's not.
I can
So,
confirm.
I hope you
No.
enjoyed the songs that I sent you. Did you listen to both
I've
of
never
them?
heard you before.
I had heard that song.
Yes.
So you're saying she did not do a good likeness of singing it? That's what I heard.
Is that what you heard?
Now
just said-
I wasn't offended, but
Listen
thanks,
to them all
Deb.
and
Now
then
I
it
am.
made them sound bad?
Did
Hmm.
it's a gift.
It's
It
a-
just
Gift. I don't.
not a gift, it's a gift. How's
He's-
everybody doing?
Yeah,
How's-
we're just here because it's day 4. Soon John's gonna give his like closing thoughts, and then
Cry
he,
a little bit.
he doesn't ask us to come back, and it's
To
fine.
say goodbye.
Yeah.
I know.
Like this is
John,
this
it's fine if you can hear us that you don't ask us to come back to say goodbye.
this is our chance to say goodbye during this 10 period
Yes,
period of time.
to-
Our long
No.
goodbye. Our once an hour goodbye.
I still want to make it sound inoffensive.
Yeah.
So
There's-
sad.
And for all of you that came to join our class this week, thank you.
Tinkly chimes. I have a necklace that is, it's like it's my own personal wind chimes that I wear around my neck. And when I have the hat on, it's just, I'm a lot.
Cyber Archangel, you asked if the day 3 recording had been posted. It is in the resources channel on the left-hand side.
You really have to tell me.
Yeah. If you are interested, please join us in Wild West Hackin' Fest happening in October. It will be in
Yes.
Deadwood, South Dakota. And if you've never gone to Deadwood, we have what we call Airport Con,
Mhm.
where Deb and I and maybe some others will meet you at the airport in Rapid City, South Dakota. And we will have snacks and refreshments and
An escape room of sorts.
yeah, like a little mini escape room for you to do to pass the time.
Mhm.
And then a bus shows up and then we get you on the bus and then you head on up to Deadwood, South
Head on
Dakota.
up.
Mhm.
So the airport is 1 or 2 runways. It's very, very tiny.
It's a
So
small
there's one plane that lands like every hour.
Yes.
So we will be there. You're welcome.
Mhm.
All that to say, we'll be there.
So you do not need to rent a car unless you want to.
And then we
Uh,
kidnap you.
Some people rent those cars because they want to drive all around. They've never
Mhm.
been to like that part of the world before, and it is gorgeous. The Black Hills is beautiful.
It is beautiful. You don't need to rent a car. We got you. 'Cause
Mhm.
It is about an hour away from the airport where you need
So
to go.
quick question. How many of you would get into my no windowed van if it said WWHF?
A no window van.
Are you
Yes.
saying that because I was driving around Deadwood in a van and saying like, hey, do you need to ride to class?
Yeah, I guess
Did-
we
why are we not having windows? What
Yeah, I don't get the
like-
no window van.
for
Hey, we
an
don't-
hour?
Hey, we're all hackers here. We don't like the sun.
I like the sun. I'll swear by
Yeah, I do too.
it. Is it a white van? Yes.
All right. I just got buried under access requests to the cyber range. So you all just do what you do, and I'm going to process all those right now. So
Processing.
Can we?
yeah,
have-
keep talking till I get them
We're-
all processed.
We're doing this thing.
We are.
So
Uh,
so I do have a Jeep. Unfortunately, I don't let anybody ride in it. So
Yes, we
What kind of Jeep do you have?
I have a Jeep Compass.
Do you
That's not a real
wave?
Jeep. I'm sorry.
Do you wave at all the other Jeeps?
No, you can't. Not with a
Oh,
compass. That's
Yeah,
a
you,
Wrangler thing.
it's only a Wrangler thing. Yeah,
Mm.
unfortunately.
Tell what
Yeah.
I have.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you have. My dad
They're
has
so-
one too, and he talks a lot of
They're
poo.
so kind. Like owners of Wranglers are very kind, but they're a little pretentious. I don't know. what the
So
word is.
Jason,
like-
as a Harley dude, do you do the motorcycle wave to like the crotch? What? Well, like the other
Two different
motorcycle.
groups.
Sorry.
So,
Two
it-
different
so
groups,
yes.
different groups usually.
Yeah.
it is two different groups. However, I do it to everybody just because I used to ride crotch rockets and now I ride
Oh.
Harleys. So I do it to everybody just because I'm the type of person that, because basically you do that to tell people, you know, keep both wheels on the ground. That's
Yeah.
yeah. And
Oh,
so
is that what that means?
Yes.
The two. I never knew
Yep.
that.
2 wheels
Mhm.
down, that's what it means.
The alternative.
And-
John.
Right.
Quick question for everyone here. Do you like outline clouds or filled in clouds for the cloud security expansion deck? Oh,
It's not a great,
It's
this isn't the
really
best
not
way to
that.
do this.
it's not.
That's definitely not.
Yeah, that's not working.
Yeah,
Okay. What if I just take the image that's here and then drop it in Discord?
that would actually.
That's brilliant.
That 5 minutes ago, but I wanted him to struggle with
Who's your team lead?
me, John.
Yeah.
All right, so outline clouds or filled in clouds.
I like the one on the right.
The filled in?
I like the one on the right. Yes, filled in ones, but
Yeah.
no.
You're get
Filled,
50% that
filled,
like one
outline.
and 50 that like the other.
Oh, for sure. The first thing they
Filled in,
teach,
filled in outline.
the first
It's
thing they teach you
literally
in the
gonna be
military
50-50.
Outlines, outline.
is
Yeah.
you never ask a large group of people what they want to do. You only tell them.
That's
So we
right.
will pick one we want for what we're saying, but we'd like to have your opinion because we
I'm
can't.
gonna
all-
be honest. I'm gonna be honest, the worst t-shirts we've ever had are the ones that we crowdsourced on Twitter. We're like, which one do you like out of these 6? And they're like, oh, I like the one with all of this stuff on it. It's awful.
And then we make it.
And then we make it, and then we give it away
No.
for free when they buy the good t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I
facts.
mean, that's what you get for putting it out on Twitter
That is what
for
Justin does.
anything.
He's like, we have too many of these bear versus bear shirts. on
Whoa,
the
whoa,
front."
whoa.
Well, we do love.
I
that shirt.
saved those Bear vs. Bear for when Bear vs. Bear comes out. It just took 4 months
like
longer
those
to
shirts.
come out. Okay,
So
Uh,
Jenny makes
Je-
a very good point.
Jenny, I think wins the argument. Says
Yeah.
outline reminds me more of the cloud sword symbol.
Yeah. So yes, yes, I think we'll
Mhm.
go with that one.
This
Thanks,
is
Jenny. That's all.
crazy. I think like the whole class wanted access to the online virtual version of the class. So
Maybe
Yeah.
Jenny. Oh, sorry.
Well, whenever you tell people, John, that they can do stuff for free, they
Then
tend
they
to
do
say,
it.
hell yeah, I want to do that.
If anyone wants to help cover my salary at Black Hills, you can buy a t-shirt at the Spirit store.
I would like to take this opportunity to like introduce you to my family and my dogs.
I did bring my dog to work today.
Seriously, if you show people your dogs, you're gonna get that money.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy t-shirts.
Damn, that's all it takes. Let me go get mine.
Yeah.
John said like, hey, you can come work at Black Hills, but you have to come up with a way to completely cover your salary by selling swag. And I was like, okay, all right.
Can you see the good thing? She's so pretty. All right.
No one can see the dog.
No one can
I
see the
know,
dog.
I
just-
couldn't, I was like, what is Jeff?
It's just
talking
really
to
awkward
us
for everybody
for?
that's watching.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to help someone like me
Sarah
stay
McLaughlin.
in business?
For only $2 a day.
Yeah, the Sarah McLaughlin song is playing in the background.
So heavy handed.
Yeah, it's just- so Sarah McLaughlin's probably like, so how was that song for that commercial? And everyone's just like, it did good. Probably too good.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have to change it. I can't watch those commercials.
Oh, they're so
they're just gut wrenching.
Oh, and then for those of you not willing to click on a link to a store called Spearfish, well done.
All the things I want are sold out. What are the things you would like, the menace?
All right, John, that's
No,
our.
no, no,
10-minute
no.
break.
Keep
No, he
going.
wants us to
Oh,
keep
oh, yeah.
talking while he's
You're not done yet.
processing.
Talk about
You guys just keep going. Keep being funny. Do it. Do it. Tell
Uh,
a joke. Be funny. This
John
is
know the first
ridiculous.
other that is a comedian.
Be funny,
There
you
is another-
said.
Be funny.
You know, could we potentially hire Jason Blanchard, the comedian, to come perform at an upcoming event?
Not you.
It's not me. There is a Jason Blanchard comedian based in Canada.
Personally, I would prefer Matt Rife, but
Oh my God. You guys are adding more people while I'm doing it.
So Hoopy Frood,
Mike D is not enjoying us.
yeah,
Not at all.
he's-
It's fine. We're not everyone's cup of tea. John will be back.
I think that Mike D is being sarcastic because we've had some side chats. So I think he's
Oh.
being sarcastic. I approve of your sarcasm, Mike D.
I
oh,
approve of your sarcasm. Everyone approve the
I'll
sarcasm.
allow it.
I'm one of those people that if you give me like 9 compliments and one thing to work on, like the only thing I remember is that one thing. Like, oh God, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
It's constructive criticism.
Ugh.
So the
And he
cards
cries
again-
for like a long time. It's really
How did
uncomfortable.
I-
He
Um,
makes everybody feel uncomfortable about his uncomfortable feedback.
he doesn't hold it back too. He shares it with everybody.
It's like, you
The
see this about me? Is this a flaw I have? Talk to me, please. Somebody give me some more feedback.
You're delightful.
Speaking of like the job hunting hacks, like every once in a while, someone on Twitch would come across like my job hunting live streams and have no idea what's going on. And they would just be like, this is stupid. Why are you talking? Like, who is this guy? And like all of a sudden, like I just like internally get completely derailed by this one person's
Yeah.
negativity. I'm like,
Came into the
Don't
wrong
watch me. I
place.
don't know. Mute us.
I have a YouTube comment on one of my old Metasploit Meterpreter videos that I did like years ago, like a decade possibly. And the whole thing is, it's like within the last year, this person just totally came up and was, yeah, this video is old. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, it is, because time passes. It's just, and it eats me because I'm like, I should go blow that video away and redo it. So.
No, you got to keep it there and say yes.
Yes, it
Look at
is.
the
Yes, it
time.
is.
Just yes. That's it.
Yeah. You know how to troll us now? Yeah, any constructive criticism will just destroy us. Like it's it. It's
Jason
All right.
Crafton, did you see that message about the recordings of day one? That's a crafting question.
ooh,
Wait, what?
that sounds like a t-shirt.
Yeah,
That
That's-
crafting question.
that's a
Man.
crafting question.
Crafting
It says
Dang it.
recordings of day one, there is most of the time John and the recording is not on his screen. They like to see John more
Mm.
John, all John
More-
all the time.
All John.
I
all
think-
More
day.
John all the time.
You can
All right.
choose how much of me you want to see.
Yes.
That's completely up to you.
Are you good? Or you just
yeah, I got that.
I think
special
we're ready. I
John-
finally got it.
Okay.
all right, Mike D, we're leaving just for you.
All right.
Bye, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, bye guys.
All right, everybody. So in Discord, I'm not going to go through all the stuff. I'm going to walk through some of the ones that I like, but we're not going to do the whole walkthrough. So what did you think of Canary tokens? Did anybody get them to work, or did we completely crash out the server? It might take a while. Worked super cool. Wrecked it. They worked fine. They didn't work. They worked fine. You're starting to see the problem here. I kind of want to walk through some of the tokens, give you an idea of some of my favorites. This one is really cool. If you choose this one, this particular token, it generates an AWS key that you can hide somewhere, not even hide. You can put it on like a GitHub repository. And then if anybody ever like goes to that GitHub repository trying to break in, it actually will trigger. So I think I have one in my fake co GitHub repository, like right here. Actually, I don't. Oh, right here. Firewall password not working, right? So you come in here and it's like, did someone change the password? I tried super secret password 1234 and it did not work. Change it back. in a public GitHub repository, and then password for AWS not working. Did I remove that one? Come on, there we go. And yeah, we just got the password in, but you could totally take this and reply back, and you can post in this information right here. And whenever we talk about S3 buckets that are exposed or their keys are exposed, this is one of the things we're talking about. So you can literally drop that around in an environment, and like if an attacker tries to use them, you'll get an email alert associated with it, which is just really, really cool. Let's go ahead and it's AWS Azure login certificate, same concept. Sensitive command token is interesting. With the sensitive command token, the way that this one works is it allows you to create a registry key file. And what this registry key file does, I want to edit it. I don't want to, just give me a second. I've got to open it up with Notepad++ and then share Notepad++. Yes. Got it. There we go. And oops, it just went away. Let me open up Notepad++ again. There we go. All right. So let me share Notepad++ now. Here we are. So what it does, it basically creates a registry key entry that if anybody tries to run the command johnstrand.exe, it'll actually trigger an alert, and it will try to connect back into the Canary token server right here with this value. And then you know that this command has fired. So I named it johnstrand.exe. It doesn't give you johnstrand.exe. It's just any file with that name. So you could have put in like netstat. You could have been, you know, like net user or net1.exe, any of those different commands that you wanted to run would basically, it would create this rule. And as soon as somebody tries to fire off an executable with this, it'll run this particular cmd.exe, which will then beacon back that somebody's trying to run that particular command on the system. So that's just so cool, right? I mean, oops, I think I went to the wrong share. Go. So let's go ahead and share back to my Canary token server. So that's the sensitive command token. The other one that's pretty cool is just a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet. This is one that Subt added a few months ago. And this one's really, really cool because you're far more likely to get someone to run an Excel document with a macro in it than a Word document with a macro in it. It just well. Yeah, and you would name the Excel spreadsheet like passwords, right? The other one that's really, really, really super cool is this one, right? So I can put in a website like this. Oh, wait, I screwed up. Copy, paste. There we go. Now this one's neat. So what this does right here, it says, if the document domain is not equal to Black Hills InfoSec and document.domain is not www.blackhillsinfosec.com, then it loads this image. So what you do is you take your code right here and you put it on a part of your web page that has user ID and password. So if the attacker scrapes this website and then tries to clone it, and then they're going to grab this code too. So let's say we've got an OA portal, like, you know, Outlook Web Access, and somebody clones that website, and then they stand up a version of that website from the perspective of trying to trick users to entering credentials. As soon as they scrape that website, it's more than likely going to fire this JavaScript. And when it fires the JavaScript, you're going to be able to get the IP address of their spear phishing server. And you're able to actually block spear phishing servers before they even launch a spear phishing attack in your environment as well. What information will we receive from the user by using Canary tokens? It depends on the token. Some of them is just straight IP address by DNS resolution. Some of them, it's full IP address by an HTTP channel and that as well. Yeah, sometimes Word doesn't work if they don't open it, but that's why you want to make them really want to open it. So what would be some Word documents that attackers would love to run? Like they see that document, they're going to open that document, right? Or Excel spreadsheets, right? Bitcoin wallet. Oh, permission? I don't think so. It shouldn't be that big of a deal for the the attacker pull it down. Also, let's talk about mark of the web. If you put it on a website and they download it through a web browser, it's going to put the mark of the web on these documents, and they're probably not going to fire. But if they download it through their malware, it's not going to put the mark of the web on it, and it will still fire on that. Custom executable or binary, you just simply upload an executable and it backdoors it as well for just doing callbacks. So a lot of like just amazing things with Canary tokens that you can do. All right, so you should be able to see my slide. Yeah, I tried before I needed to enable editing to work. That is true when you download it. But once it's on your system, and the reason why it did that, FM Red Eyes, is because when you downloaded it from the web, it had the mark of the web on it. All right. And if you have it sitting on a file server and the attacker exfiltrates it out of their C2 framework, it's not going to have the mark of the web because it's not going to be downloaded via browser. Does that make sense, FM Red Eyes? So it gave you that error. And that's not just because of the fact that it's got tracking in it. It has nothing to do with that. The only reason why you got that warning is because it was downloaded from the web. That's it. So does that make sense? Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go through and kind of talk about this a little bit more, right? So an executable example, just a simple executable. I like naming my stuff, you know, something that's going to trigger the attacker, you know, like free candy, you know, flowers, land shark. Yeah, they're going to see this executable. They're going to run it. Now, other than free candy, what would be the name of some executables that might entice an attacker to run an executable, right? Like if they see a .exe, they're like, ooh, I got to run that. That'd be nice, right? Maybe PS exec, right? Malware, get your malware here. Swordfish, nice reference, going for some deeper cuts. Offshore accounts, admin council. What about like SCCM client or RDP setup or VPN setup, any of those different things? Now you're getting the idea. Now you're getting the idea. Also, I mentioned OpenVPN has the capability for you to execute scripts whenever somebody joins your OpenVPN session, right? So if you look at this, you can see that I can execute PowerShell on an attacker's computer system before they access the OpenVPN server. I can access and run Python. So you can literally execute full Python on the attacker's computer system. You can put whatever the hell you want in there and it's going to work. Or you can just create an executable that they can download and they can execute as well. And this isn't something that's exclusive to OpenVPN. This is actually something that's on almost all VPN servers. So some of the ways that you would actually do this, are we getting into the illegal realm? No, not yet. And think about it like this, Ethereal. So think of it like this. Whenever you open up Microsoft Word.exe, every single time you open that exe, it's beaconing back and it's checking for licensing, right? So right now we're still getting geolocation and IP address information. We haven't gone for persistent access to that system. So we're not talking about full malware yet. We're just getting IP address and geolocation information at this point. All right. And how do we get that? So the way that you do that, I gotta see if I have my Wi-Fi adapter here. See if I've got it. Removable devices. Here we go. Go ahead and connect it. See if it works. All right. So now I'm inside my VM. I'm just testing something. I know you all can't see anything yet. I'm trying to do some stuff really quick. There we go. Yep, it's working. All right, so let me share. So the way that this works is it executes this command right here. So it executes netsh wlan show networks. And then I can do mode equals BSSID, right? So the way this works is like this. It says netsh wlan show networks mode equals BSSID. And what it's going to give me is it's going to give me all of the different networks that are nearby where I am. So you have like this infrastructure one, blank SSID, you have Netgear 19, Starlink, and it gives us the MAC addresses of these wireless networks, and that's the BSSID. And it's also giving me the signal attenuation to how strong that signal is. And I have a bunch of like set up to 100 and ones that set 74%. Now you can take this information when you execute this, right? You can take this information when you execute it and you can upload it to Google, because Google has some APIs that you can run and it will come back and it'll give you geolocation information as far as where that particular executable is. So you would hide this in your environment. You'd put it someplace where a standard user would never, ever, ever go, but an attacker would. So you'd be like user agent string registration, admin page, JSF, detect, all of these things. And then you would have that executable there. So it'd be something like, VPN config.exe. And as soon as they actually select VPN config.exe, it tracks exactly where they are. We talked about the cloned website already. Somebody tries to scrape your website so that they can do credential capture through spear phishing. You've got them before they even launch in a single email into the environment. And the way that this works is it looks at all the wireless signals and it basically kind of puts them in circles. So how does Google know where all these wireless access points are? Just out of curiosity. Anyone know? Like Google Street View? Yeah, it's because of mobile phones. So anytime any of you go anywhere with your phone, even Apple phones that are running Google Maps, Google is constantly tracking and like recording all the wireless access points nearby, their BSS-IDs and their signals, and then correlating that back to geolocation information. Some were accidentally collected during Street View, but when they did that, two things happened. One, they got into trouble for that mass collection of what they did whenever they were driving in vans. Like California got very angry at them. And they realized, why are we having vans do this? We'll just basically bake it into Google Maps so everybody is doing it all the time. And then they collect all of that data down. So it takes a relative attenuation of all those different MAC addresses and those SSIDs, and then basically creates a map of where they are. So here's an HTTP canary token. We've got the IP address. We got the website that it triggered against. This is actually one of ours that I added into the slides because we use canary token servers at Black Hills Information Security. We do a lot of cyber deception at BHIS. And this is just one example. We were able to find this IP address that made a direct connection back from one of our canary tokens that we fired to basically see where they were. So this was somebody cloning our website for a spear phishing attack, and we were able to actively block that IP address. We were also able to map out where a lot of the attackers were. Like seriously, I could get down to their house. So we had this concerted effort. We had two separate concerted efforts. This one was a long time ago. I want to say it was like 3-4 years ago. We had a bunch of attackers that were coming after Black Hills Information Security, and we were able to find out where they were. That's kind of neat. Word docs, there's a number of things that you can do, right? We already did the Canary Tokens Lab. Word docs are great. And I've been thinking about doing an entire Dr. Seuss book. You know, would you run it from a share? Would you run it from a chair? Would you run it from Tor? If the FBI comes, should you open the door? Just kind of keep that whole entire thing going. But they're great because you can put them on shares, compromised systems. If you think that they're actually like popped, drop a document on that system, right? You can email it directly to the spammers, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind, right? So I wanted to share with you kind of the last DerbyCon, and I loved the last DerbyCon. Actually, I love DerbyCon as a con. Constantly trying to take and make Wild West Hacking Fest look and feel as much as we can like the awesome cons like BrewCon and DerbyCon in the world. At any rate, last time I was at DerbyCon, I was sharing a room with my brother, who's director of sales. So 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever I write all my presentations, I sent him this document. And it says, please open this. And in it, it has a document that I generated from Canary Tokens because I had an idea, right? I had an idea, and he was pissed because I woke him up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, Brian, run this. Hey, run this. You got to run it. He's like, I just want to sleep. I'm like, you got to run it for 2 reasons, dude. One, I'm your older brother. And the second reason is I'm your boss, which is really not a good thing to say to family members, like ever. All right. So he opened it, right? Like it says in token reminder. He opened it and I got his IP address. Now, just out of curiosity, we have a number of people here that probably know, is geolocation by IP address all that great? Never. Ooh, never. It's meh at best. Hell no. All right. Why? We know this because it's true, but a lot of people don't know why. Why is geolocation of end IP addresses a problem? Could be not. ISPs. They change. Ben is getting close. Why? Why? Ooh. Depends on where you're connecting from. I like that. All right. Let me explain to you why. Right. So whenever I ran this at DerbyCon, it put me here. Just so you know, I was all the way up in the O in Louisville, or in that area of the O in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. And it put my IP address probably a good 4 miles away. If I had to guess, I don't know Louisville that well, but I would guess it was like 2 to 4 miles away, which is horrible, right? That's not great at all. Dakota mentioned the hotel's internet. You're absolutely 100% correct. And I knew this because I'd been doing this for years, and I never really sat down to try and truly figure out why it was a problem. I figured out what the problem was, and it seems obvious when you think about it. It seems obvious because why in the hell would an ISP geolocate end IP addresses? All right. How do ISPs hand out their IP addresses for like home users and businesses and hotels? DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So why would you bother ever trying to geolocate any of those IP addresses at all? So I got to thinking about this, and my thought was, well, if they aren't geolocating the actual endpoint IP addresses, I do know that a lot of ISPs geolocate routers on their network. So once again, quick to the command line. And I did a trace route. I did a trace route from 74.143.15 or to 74.143.15.100. And you could see it got all the way down to that IP address, but you see this like 16 hit right here, where we have the RRCS 74.142.15.130 centralbizrr.com. That's the edge router before it actually gets to the hotel. That I took and I geolocated, and it put us within half a block of where I was. See, we were right, where were we? A block and a half. We were at the Hyatt Regency. Now, granted, it's not 100% accurate, right? Like, but dang, we're getting to a block or two away. I've actually taught some people in the Air Force, and it's kind of terrifying. They're basically like, oh, that's close enough. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell? So it's still not 100% great, but dang, if it isn't in the neighborhood, at least, right? And then you can now ping difference last two jumps, calculate the distance and the speed of electrons and the wiring in that district, possibly, yeah. And then you can do it. Yeah, I've been to JB Stillhouse. I've been to all of the restaurants down here. So, by the way, any of you know Trevor, the cockroach? Trevor Forget? Yeah, Trevor Forget. If somebody could share a link on that. Trevor Forget was probably one of the most awesome things that ever happened at a DerbyCon. All right. So, but doing something that you get from Canary tokens doesn't work well with a Linux document processor. We need ADHD and word web bugs for that. This can be extended to the point where we can have full macro scripts as well, but we're going to talk about that more and how it relates to Excel spreadsheets as well. So we already did Canary tokens, right? We looked at Canary tokens, the components, trying to get necessary components to implement in your environment. You have the GitHub repository. We already did this. We're good to go. Oh, there's the Trevor Forget presentation. It was awesome. So word web bugs are honey docs. So originally, the first time I ever used word web bugs was Core Impact. In fact, the case that I talk about a lot, actually, I haven't told you all about this particular case. So years and years and years ago, where I really got started on this entire pathway of cyber deception and offensive techniques for defensive purposes. I was in Atlantic City. I was at I think it was an HTCIA conference, but I'm not sure. I was presenting, and can't remember what con it was, but I got into the hotel like stupid late. I want to say it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got a call from some law enforcement people that I'm working with that kind of do stuff from time to time. And they said, we've got a little girl that is abducted. We know who has the little girl because he has changed his Skype avatar to be a picture of the little girl while she's crying. That's getting kind of creepy, right? And it also was one of those situations where it was a friend of the family. Did I tell the story already, Fat Manuel? I don't know if I did. I did. Okay, we heard it in the other class yesterday. Sorry, I'm teaching like nonstop. I'm like on the 3rd week of teaching. So at any rate, we were able to get the little girl back by using this type of technique. And the other thing that's really, really, really cool is it works with Linux and all of these other different things as well. But yeah, so basically what we did is we were able to send a document to the suspect through a friend's Skype account, and we were able to get the little girl back. So that's just great. That just worked out really, really, really well in that situation. All right. So what does it look like? This is fundamentally different than canary tokens. And you would put it in a doc file, not a docx file, a doc file, which is interesting because generally a lot of people look at docx and docxm as the dangerous files, but a standard doc file, not so much. But this works. Now you have to edit it with something like VI. And if you edit it with VI, you can type in this HTML. And a lot of people don't know this, but Microsoft Word is in fact a web browser. It'll actually honor HTML reference things out there. So it works really, really well. Now you don't open it in Word and put this in. You have to open it in VI as a doc file and put this in. And when it works, it just pops up and it says, what a buggy document. Then it basically has a callback. In this situation, it's the attacker's IP address whenever they make a beacon back. I think this is one. Yeah, this is one that I came up with years ago. This is actually from Core Impact. So this is what I got, different IP address whenever we were tracking down the girl. Now, the cool thing about Word WebBug is it works on AviWord, LibreOffice, Apple TextEdit, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Word for Mac as well. So that's just cool. All right. So Word WebBugs is in the enterprises. Where would you put these things? Well, everywhere, right? So think of the psychology of this. Yes, that is a great point, TM Snake. If somebody opens these from Google Docs, one of two things happens. Either A, you get nothing back, or B, you actually get Google Docs servers IP address. We'll come back to you. So that is true. That is absolutely 100% true if you open it up in Google Docs. We'll talk about how to get around that in just a little bit, right? So we've got to do psychology. Like, how are we going to convince somebody to open up a Word web bug, right? We got to call it a sensitive document, social security numbers, Bitcoin wallets, those types of things. The attacker's going to see them. They're going to be interested in them, and they're going to download those to their computer systems, open those, and then we're able to actually track that as well. All right, so cyber deception on the cheap. Let's actually go to a lab. We already did. Nope, we've got a ways to go before the next lab. All right, so there are a bunch of commercial products out there: Javelin Networks, Symmetria, Elusive Networks, Ativo, TrapX. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these products, even though I think a lot of them are amazing. They do a lot of stuff that you don't need. Like, they like to spin up full, like, emulated operating systems, which is thinking of cyber deception like we thought of cyber deception 20 years ago. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on what you can do and how you can set it up and just really get some strong success. So the goal, if we're going to try to set up cyber deception in Active Directory, is we want to set it up in something you can do in less than half in a day. And there's many ways to do the exact same thing, very quick, very dirty. And these are usually the things that are going to detect post-exploitation activity the fastest. So the first one is an Active Directory Honey user account. So what you do is you create a user account. You can call it whatever you want. Don't worry about being too obvious, right? Don't worry about, oh, I don't know, the name of this account's admin ADM administrator. The attackers might think it's actually a trap. No, they won't. The reason why is almost every environment, people name their administrators' accounts some of the most obvious stuff that you could possibly think of. It's very rarely actually a honeypot. And if you do it right, you don't even care. Like it won't matter in the end at all. Disable login hours. This is a way of disabling an account without disabling an account, if you know what I mean. Sorry, weird way to use innuendo. But you can't disable the account as like the traditional disable. The reason why is because if you disable the account, many times what happens is the password spraying tools won't even try to log into it. They'll skip right over those accounts as well. So what you do is you create the account, log into the account, and then you block out its login hours, turn them all to white, and then they can't log in at all. They can attempt to log in, but they won't be able to successfully log in at all. And I did this with just a really quick and easy sim, just basically set this up, capturing logs off the system, ran a password spray, and I got an alert. And by the way, you're going to do this in a lab, like here shortly. All right. So we've got 2 labs we're going to do, 2 separate Active Directory labs. The first one is Honey User, and the next one is Honey Share. Right. So let's go to our virtual machine. All right. So here we are. All right. Close that out. Here we go. Let me go ahead and get my machine set up and it's ready to go. Drop that, put that there. All right, here we go. So the first one that you're going to do is a Honey User account. So we're going to do this one first. With the Honey User, we're going to set up a SIM alert whenever somebody tries to log in to the Frank account. Don't worry, just Frank because. So you're going to generate 200 users. This includes the Frank account on the system. Then you're going to open up Event Viewer. You're going to select security, going to create a custom view. Then you're going to go in, create the custom view, select XML. You're going to paste in this XML that creates an alert anytime anyone authenticates to the Frank account. Then you're going to see some alerts exist. Then you're going to come back and you're going to run a password spray against the local system, and you're going to see more Frank authenticated logins on that as well. We already did this one. All right, cool. Then did we do this one? Honey Share. All right, how about this one? Oh, okay, there we go. Like I said, I'm burnt out, like seriously burnt out. So with Honey Share, I love this one because of what Microsoft says. Stick with me. You're going to see it's really, really, really cool. You're going to open up an administrator account. You're going to get your IP address. You're going to go into Unpacket. You're going to start an SMB server right here. And then you're going to go to your Windows system and you're going to authenticate to this secret server. It's going to generate an error. Once again, everybody pay attention. Quick. Porn. Do I have your attention? All right. Awesome. It's going to generate an error. Okay. Whenever you run this command right here, it's going to generate an error. And we have people all the time that are just like, oh, well, it didn't work. I got an error. Read the error. It's hilarious. It's like, oh, you shouldn't connect to that server because it's dangerous. Meanwhile, in the background, you've intercepted the machine name, IP address, username, and the password hash. So even though Microsoft says that that's not something you should do, it still trips. So then after that one, the next lab that we're going to do is, let's do file audit. Right, there we go. So the file audit is literally creating a folder and a file called secret, setting up the local security policy to audit a file, and then generating an alert anytime anyone accesses that file as well. So there you go. All right. So we have 2 labs. We're going to be doing the file audit lab and the Honey Share lab. So Honey Share and file audit. And this will take us up to and through the break as well. All right, everybody, get rolling. By the way, you're going to want to go out and you can grab an external USB wireless adapter. For the last lab, I'll just do a walkthrough and show it to you because I forgot to tell you to get the wireless adapter. But I've got an external wireless adapter. I'll show you how it works, but you're going to want to get one in the next couple of days so you can get Honey Badger working because it's cool, which is the last lab that we go over. All right, everybody, get rolling. So we're going to do file audit and HoneyShare. Get rolling, and in about 25 minutes, I'll come back and I'll do a walkthrough.
Hi, everybody.
I never come back.
Sorry, I had the wrong headset on.
You don't have a watch?
Bro, I have an Apple Watch Ultra. I have a watch.
Nerd alert.
No, I was looking at a item I was going to pick up for Deadwood.
Calculator watch. I remember those.
I had one of those as well.
Of course you did.
I did.
Of course you did.
Yep, the Casio calculator watch. I sure did. Yes, had. I don't have it anymore. I wish I did. That thing
I'm
was
surprised you kind of keep things around, like you're kind of like behind you, you've got your little collections of things. I imagine you have like stuff, like old stuff too, that you've kept in like pristine condition.
I do. I have a Palm Pilot somewhere. It's out in a plastic tub in the garage right now.
Techie B, you said it, not me. It may have been inferred by my tone, but that I didn't say it. I throw away things that I need. I get in a cleaning frenzy and just start trashing everything. And then I'm like, ah, crap. I need it right after I throw it away.
I'm gonna tell you right now, just so you can think about it until Deadwood. I do already have a surprise for Deadwood. For our crew. You know which crew I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The airport crew.
2 Live Crew. Guys, that's an old band. Were they a band? I guess they were a group. They considered a band. Yes. So he's talking about our airport crew. When we went out to Reno a couple of years ago for Way West, and we all got trapped at the airport together. So we
For
spent
like 24 hours.
no, it was over 24 hours.
Oh.
It was over. Like it was awful. So we got trapped in the Reno airport. We watched our bags bake on the tarmac because it was like 7,000 degrees outside. And I was like, I really have no idea what was in my bag. I hope there wasn't candy, but we were just looking at it. We were so tired and just out of it. They thought we were drunk. So we got accused of being drunk, even though we don't drink.
Yep.
And then we had to sleep on the floor at the Denver airport because we finally got to Denver. We got on the plane in Reno and they were like, oh, we need gas. We were like, you didn't think of this for the 7,000 hours we were sitting here? Maybe that we needed some gas in the plane. Yeah.
It was terrible. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was. And there was like that airport, there was like 2 restaurants, I think. Remember when we all got trapped in Reno?
Just to watch a man die. So
Did you didn't get trapped. I think you got right out before all the thunderstorms hit in Reno when we all got trapped in Reno.
I literally got out like 10 minutes. Like my thing that I do every single time is I will be on the first plane out in the morning. Like
Yeah.
that is always my rule. If you're traveling anywhere and you're like, well, if we leave here at 1, we'll get in at 5. You're
Yeah.
not going to get there at 5.
No.
No, so
Yeah.
no, just always. So like the 2 things you do when you're traveling, 3 things to do. The first thing you do is you never check luggage ever. Checking luggage is a bad idea. If you have to actually send something like big, just ship it.
Yeah.
From FedEx. If you're like, well, I really need this wardrobe of clothing. No, you don't. You can make it just fine on a backpack and a side bag.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. Number two, be on the earliest flights that you possibly can. So whenever we go anywhere, I'm on like the 6 a.m. flight out of Rapid, or if I'm getting home, it's the same thing.
Mhm.
The final thing is, for the love of God, have status. Go get a credit card and use like a United or
Yeah.
American or a Delta card. Just have it, and that gets you much better status, and you're far less likely to be stranded. But no, it's just I got. It's funny. You remember I used to wear suits all the time. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
used
remember
to wear
that.
full suits. I used to wear suits when I was teaching for SANS, and I had a big, carry on and everything, or checked it. And yeah, then one day I just showed up, and Stephen Northcutt and I are together, and he's in like short Bermuda, like shorts and a Bermuda
Yeah, a
shirt.
Hawaiian shirt. Yeah.
And I'm in like cargo shorts, a t-shirt, and like tennis shoes. And he's like, "Yep, you finally came full circle." I'm like, yeah,
I always envisioned whenever Steven would come in with his bags, I would always envision like a fan blowing. Like
Yeah.
he that's how he entered the room. It was just like Beyonce almost.
Nah, the dude. So the first time I ever met Steven, I was in San Diego, and I show up to this room, and I'm like walking into this room, and it's like, oh my God, that's Ed Scotus. Oh my God, that's Eric Cole.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And Stephen Northcutt, at the time, it was one of the last times that they used to do like this instructor reception where the
Mhm.
instructors would all get together. Kathy was setting that up for years. And I'm like in this room, and I'm just like blown away by all these people that are around. And Steven's grabbing me by the arm, and he's pulling me around, introducing me to people. And in the middle of it, he's just like, "You've got to let your people fail, Steven. You got to let your people fail, Steven. You got to." He wasn't happy with the food or something. I don't know. It's just let your people fail. I'll never.
I
forget
could
that.
totally see that happening. That's so hilarious.
All right.
All right,
right,
well,
so
let's
let's
get
go.
back to class.
All right, let's get back to it. So like I said, these are two just awesome, fun labs. So let's go ahead and let's start with a honey share. This one is dumb. It's just, this is so stupid. You've got to ask yourself, what is Microsoft thinking, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just follow through, just following the directions real quick. I'll zoom in whenever I get to the point that we have something important, becoming root. And then we're going to CD into in packet examples, and then we're going to start the server. So we're literally just creating the secret server over here. And you might wonder, will an attacker be able to find these open shares? Yes, they will. If you just type in net view on a Windows computer system that's attached to a domain, it'll show up. All right, so now we're going to take this and we're going to connect into our Linux IP address. And this is just where it gets dumb. So let me replace the Linux IP address here with my Linux IP address here. All right, there we go. Enter. Now wait for it. It's going to come up and it's going to say error 1272 has occurred. You can't access the shared folder because your organization's security policies block unauthenticated guest access. These policies protect your PC from malicious network devices on the network. Now, you see that? Do you all feel warm and fuzzy? You're like, well, thank you, Microsoft. I appreciate you protecting me like that. Meanwhile, in the background, it totally dumped your password hash. Right here. If I zoom in on it, it's got, it actually tried to authenticate. It gave me the user, machine name, IP address, date, timestamp. Here's the user account, and here is the authentication request. I just absolutely love that, where it's basically like, I'm doing this to protect you for security, everyone. Oh, I love that. It's all a facade. It's all a facade. So there you go. We were able to intercept the authentication. The next lab is a little bit more in depth. There's a lot more steps to it. But this is one of those areas that a lot of people, you know what I just realized? I think I already have the secret folder on the system. I might have already did this lab for a video I was doing. Nope, cool. So we're going to go through, we're going to create a secret folder. Just call it secret. There we go. And then we're just going to create a new file. .txt. And that's it. So we're just going to leave it like that. Now we have to go to the local policy. We're going to go ahead and we're going to change our local policy. Where is it? There we go. Local security policy. And, oh, come on, mouse. Where are you? We're going to go to audit policies. We're going to go to, sorry, local policies, audit policy. And then we're going to enable object access. We're going to turn that on for success and failure. Oops, did I not? Yeah, we already got it. There we go. So we now have auditing enabled. But what's interesting about this object access is it's enabled for specific files that you want it to be enabled for. So I have to go into a file or a folder. I have to go into security, go to advanced, and then I have to select auditing, go ahead and continue. And we're going to add a principal and we're going to put in everyone. Check names, everyone. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do full control. I'm going to apply it. Click OK. So now we have our audit policy on this specific file. So now if I go into event viewer, go to event viewer. So. And I go to Windows logs. We go to the security log. Sorry, I'm not keeping up with my instructions here on the left. There we go. And then if I go into this file and I start modifying this file, like that, save, hello. And then we refresh. Now that is really weird. Doesn't look right. There we go. Go. Now you can see that we actually modified that file with notepad.exe. So we actually have here we go. We actually got a number of them right here. So we have notepad.exe invoked the secret file. Let me zoom in right here. And you can see we've got full logging and accounting on it. So this is great because now you can set up a file. You can call it a secret file. You can enable it for Excel spreadsheets. Basically, you can turn any file in Active Directory on a Windows environment to be able to do this as well. Would a Linux server be running a legitimate SMB servers? Do attackers often try to log on to SMB server? Yeah, you can have a number of reasons why you would have an SMB server. I mean, Samba is in fact a thing on that. We also have on the file audit, it seems like it could be very noisy if you were doing it on a file server. Well, that's just it, Cyber Archangel. Now, if you look closely at what we did, we enabled it, but we just enabled it on that file. Does that make sense? And as far as like accessing the file, even if you enter into that directory, like if I go here and I go into the secret directory, just the process of loading the icon for the file actually generates an event log for it. Does that make sense? Yep. So hopefully that makes sense to you. All right. So let's keep going on the slides. So just some really stupid tricks that I added into this class because I'm weird. So years ago, I was giving a presentation with Paul Asadoorian. And Paul Asadoorian had some pictures from a TV show in the 60s called Our Man Flint or In Like Flint. And it was basically this, it was kind of the poor person's James Bond. And on one slide, he had this guy Flint, and he was surrounded by women in bikinis. And he goes to that slide and a lady in the audience is like, that's sexist. And on the next slide, I had the Hasselhoff recursion. Don't Google it. But just say it's David Hasselhoff in a Speedo and we'll just leave it at that, right? And I said, does this balance things out? And I remember she looked at me and she goes, touche. So the Hasselhoff recursion was something that got me thinking, because I was staring at David Hasselhoff doing the infinite recursion. And I know I tell people don't Google the Hasselhoff recursion, and then people totally do. It's nothing bad. I wouldn't say it's not safe for work or anything like that. It's not totally evil. Yeah, it's too late. But the Hasselhoff recursion is basically like the infinitely recursive directory thing that we did with a web server. So if I were to go ahead and just do this really quick, let's go ahead and we'll go to the top level directory. We'll do make dir, and then we're going to make a directory called go away. Like that. And then we'd cd into go away. And then we would do, we would basically create a symlink at this point, which is mklink. And then we'll just name the directory dir1. So mklink /D dir1 like that. Oh, and then I've got to do, I can't type or do anything today. mklink is how you spell it, John. Get out of the way. Move. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to have that connect into the go away directory like that. Now we've created a symbolic link. So if I do dir right here, you can see that I have a link made. So if I do dir space /s, you'll notice it tries to do that recursively. But the problem with it doing it recursively is every time it tries to go to that recursive directory, it appends the directory on the end. And when it gets to 128 characters, it dies. Oh, that's a bummer. I has a sad now. But what I could do is put in two directories like that. And then I do dir space /s, like bam. So what this just did is we just created an infinitely recursive directory trick where if anybody tries to recursively search through the file system, it's just going to get caught in this directory. And this works really like super incredibly well whenever you have a piece of malware that's trying to search for documents on a system. And if you really want to have a good time, go ahead and set up object access auditing on that file. It's fire. It'll actually fill up your event logs very, very, very quickly. But no, this is just a stupid trick. And I did this in not a red team. I did this in a capture the flag event a number of years ago, and I nuked the attacker's computer. And I thought that was fun. And the reason why is their malware, when they're searching for the flag, hits my directories and it just gets stuck and they're done. That just basically shuts down their malware. There's some other tools out there, Deception Toolkit, that has modified versions of WhoAmiNet, System Info, and Burr. And I actually like the Canary Tokens version of this better. I think that this is pretty cool. Yes. Deploy Deception is another tool, PowerShell module that actually deploys multiple different Active Directory decoy objects as well. The problem with this is I don't have a full server that I give people in the class. With the new online lab, we might actually do that as well. Right, there's links for it. Cred Defense Toolkit is another toolkit that we created at Black Hills Information Security that is specific to detecting like link local multicast name resolution and responder style attacks. If you're working in the cloud, here's a blog post for you. Cyber deception lures for attribution in Microsoft Sentinel. So a whole bunch of things that we just don't have time to go through, but I wanted to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to try it. All right, so now we're going to get into talking a little bit about attack. And then I'm going to close this out today with a walkthrough of Honeybadger, which I'm super excited about. And I love people to kind of getting a chance to play with it. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about attack. So when is malware malware? When is malware totally not malware? This is interesting for me. This is a number of years ago where the FBI said it's malware when we don't use it, because we're the good guys. So it's only malware when good people use it. I'm wondering if there's any analogies associated with this, right? It's good for me, but not for you. And this was really kind of a sad thing that was going on for a while, where a number of people that would create like C2s and implant frameworks some FBI offices were actually going after these individuals. So if you were a legitimate security researcher coming up with new bypass techniques, sharing it with the community, there was a couple of times where the FBI actually showed up and started knocking on people's door. So that's kind of frightening. And with this, one of the things I would recommend is whenever you start creating malware and you're going to deploy it, there's no situation where not having a warrant is okay. You always, always, always want to get a malware. Oh God, I'm tired. You always want to get a warrant. So you can also do a number of things like wireless honeypots around environments. We do a large number of wireless site surveys in our penetration test. And what we do is we set up a cloaked SSID, and you would call it something like company private, bank private, and you would enable WPA pre-shared key, but you would give it a password that would be guessable, right? You'd want it to actually be guessable. One that would be a dictionary file with aircrack NG would actually work really, really well. You could present the attacker with a captive portal with terms of use, saying, if you connect to this portal, we're going to totally run all kinds of things on your computer system as well. And yeah, it gives you a certain level of authority. You redirect the attacker to like a beef hook, and then you enter in some kind of malicious JavaScript where you get all kinds of auto run entries that run against the attacker's computer system, generating an alert, block their MAC address, or just laugh because it's funny. Right? AV bypass. This is tough. We have a class that Joff teaches at Black Hills Information Security on creating an implant that is all about creating malware and bypassing antivirus engines and things like that. And Megan can get you that link here in a second. By the way, if you buy our entire catalog, which makes all the classes like 95% off, that's just one of the classes that you get. So you can go ahead and sign up at Enterprise Attacker Emulation C2 Implant Development with Joff Thayer. Check it out. It's really, really super cool. But I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that. I instead just going to want to focus on some high level things, right? So instead of having a honey doc, we're actually creating honey claymores where the attacker runs the honey claymores and then you don't just get the attacker's location, you get persistent access on that. So how do you arm documents? Well, you can arm Excel spreadsheets, documents, PowerPoint files, PDFs. But once again, you want to name them something sensitive like proposals, so security numbers, crypto data, any of those different things. And what happens is as soon as the attacker downloads those to their system, they run them. Now you have some more persistent access on their computer systems. Now with this is, oh, somebody's trying to get a hold of me. FM Red Eyes, buzz on my watch. You're trying to contact me. All right. Yeah, retire. Oh, you said you could call the file porn. I get it. Yes, that would probably get the attackers to open it too. Like I said, I'm really tired today. So yeah, but it's just kind of move. All right. And there's a number of ways to create these payloads in Metasploit. Use payloads, Meterpreter, reverse TCP. Then you can set the encoders, encode it, and generate the Visual Basic. And this is going to be the theme of kind of the rest of the day. Yeah, when your watch buzzes and it says porn, I'm like, well, something is it on my screen? Oh, might be missing it. So anyway, so yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about Visual Basic applications over the next few slides and how we can actually utilize those effectively to get some more persistent geolocation data from an attacker. Now, to actually put the macro inside your document, I've given you some instructions and like opening up the developers tab in the ribbon or enabling it. Alt F8, open up the macros, copy the macro in, and then set it up. By the way, quick note, if you choose to do this, be sure that you do the drop down where it says, you know, you want to put it into your spreadsheet, your document. The default is all open workbooks. Now, a fun little story a long time ago. One of my friends and I, this is really at the beginning of BHIS, we were working on a pen test together. He didn't work for BHIS. We were just partnered up. And we used a macro to gain access to the customer's environment. And when he created the macro for the pen test, he actually left it on all open workbooks. So it literally inserted the macro into every Word document that he created, including the customer's report, submitted it to the customer, and we started getting more shells as the customer was handing the report around in that environment. And I'm like, dude, we're getting shells from like the executive and things like that. And the way he rolled it was this. He said, see, just goes to show you all just how dangerous this is. Because not only did I get access to accounting systems, I got access to all the security systems and the administrators as well. So, oh, I love the Rage Against the Machine. Oh, yeah, rally around the family. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Yeah, so he managed to roll that off. And instead of the customer being mad, the customer was like, thank you very much, Paul Asadorian. We've learned a valuable lesson today. And you have made us understand the incredible power of macros inside of Word documents. And I think it drove this point home more than anything else could have. I'm not making that up. Like, seriously, they were grateful. The dude is a magician. Just a good thing. Then you paste the macro in, save it, and then it's ready to rock and roll. Any of the reverse connections come in. It's a teachable moment for all of us. Absolutely. You still have some possible detects depending on how your malware works. Some of the Word documents, they'll actually export and write to a file and then execute a PS1 file. There's also some versions that'll do direct memory injection. More than often than not, you want to go into direct memory injection. But let's say you have an executable that you love. You're like, I don't want to, man, I just don't want to use Metasploit Meterpreter. You don't have to. The Metasploit project has a tool called EXE to VBA that allows you to convert any arbitrary executable into a Visual Basic application. So if you like Sliver, or you like, I don't know, Silent Trinity, Trevor C2, any of these different command and control frameworks, you have the ability to convert any of those executables, Havoc, absolutely, Cobalt Strike, into a Visual Basic application. And then you can arm it that way as well. Now, what I'm going to show you all here in a little bit is how you can actually generate geolocation macros. This is a tool that we've created, Bradley at BHIS has created, called Honeybadger. And what it does is it generates the macro, and it runs the NetSH WLAN show networks mode equals BSSID to dump all of the wireless networks nearby and then send that to you. Now, the version that we release for free has absolutely no AV obfuscation bypass at all. It's just the straight macro. If you're going to actually set this up, you're probably going to want to set this up in such a way that it's going to bypass, and you're going to have to spend some time on that as well. And we use it, and we have a version that we use with like law enforcement and other organizations that does bypass AV. In fact, it actually starts up an auto start entry point on a Windows computer system, and it perpetually dumps the wireless geolocation site survey information for every single system that it runs on. So it just sits there and runs all the time. The other way that you can do it is how does it do it exactly? I told you I charge for it. So the other thing that it does, which is really, really, really cool, is it actually generates not just a list of the wireless networks that are live, but it actually dumps the previously saved wireless network, so I can get a pattern of life as well. All right, so this is called Honeybadger. So originally this was written by a gentleman by the name of Tim Tomes when he worked for me. And we originally were using this as part of a DoD contract where we had a bunch of people in special forces that wanted to know if we could actually get access to where their location was when they were non-attrib locations. And Tim and I sat down, genned this up. Tim did like most of the technical work and genned it up. And we were able to get geolocation of a number of people very, 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 very quickly. But it sends the information, the details to Google Maps, to their geolocation API, and then Google basically returns back the latitude and longitude. Sometimes it works really well, but sometimes Google with their API is a little bit flaky. Depends on how much money you're willing to spend. So here's some of my favorite hits. This is an example of us running Honeybadger, and it was in a customer environment. I kid you not, we got geolocation on a system in Moscow. Yeah, they had a computer with them. Yep, they were actually in a so if you ever work in a SCIF or a secure facility, A lot of times they have like places where you're not allowed to bring cell phones and all those different things. But you also have bays where they have unclassed terminals, Mike. So you go into like the unclassed terminal bay, and those computer systems are supposed to be non-attrib computer systems. And it turns out that we were able to get attribution, even though there were no like, actually, it's kind of funny. They did have some wireless access points, and some people had their phones on, and we were able to get full location as far as where they were. The other way that we were able to do it, we had some people that are deployed downrange, and we were able to get their location as well. Once again, because people have phones, cell phones in some of the weirdest third world countries that you can think of. But this one, we were able to basically geolocate some Russian hackers, which I thought was fun. And how it does it, and this hasn't been updated in a long time because it works, is it takes the wireless information that you can see down here at the bottom, and it base64 encodes it. And we do that so we don't get into any issues with IDS systems, IPS systems, and it also with the character set, we don't end up breaking anything, but we get that base64, that sweet base64 data. Now you can search on waggle.net. You can absolutely do that as well. Now you say all phones are just stored outside of a SCIF in a locker. That's that way a lot of times in DC, but whenever you actually get onto military bases, a lot of people on military bases don't. My favorite one is we were able to get geolocation and pull down all the tweets in a specific area on a specific military base where there's absolutely no one allowed to have phones. And we were able to find all the people that were tweeting on this secure facility. We got one guard who was tweeting constantly. He was a guard at a station out in the middle of the woods, and he was tweeting about how much he hated his job. That was awesome. And then I actually got one person that was working inside of a highly classified facility that was took a video of his computer playing the scene from Good Will Hunting, where if you remember the scene with Good Will Hunting where they're talking about interviewing and working with the NSA, and Will is talking about, oh no, I don't want to do this. And then somebody's going to get killed because of something that I did here and all these different things. And his buddy's going to get deployed and he's going to come back and all this. And the guy, when he took a video of his screen, you could see the reflection in his screen, and we were able to actually get the badge of that individual. So we've done all of these different things over the years, which are really, really a lot of fun on that. Once again, geolocation, it takes all of these wireless sites and it looks at them as a series of like connected circles as well. And then Google comes back and it says the accuracy is 128 meters. Very cool. So we've had a number of stories. The one in the upper left-hand corner is an attacker that was in Europe. This is actually an attacker that was threatening a food manufacturer with poisoning their customers. This one's in Melbourne, Australia, and that was pretty good. This is Tim Tomes's old house at the bottom when we were testing it. This one is an old one, but it's one of my faves. We had this one person that was attacking one of our sites. I think he was attacking one of Tim Tomes's websites at the time. And Tim was able to fire this up. And when it ran, we got the IP address, the geolocation with 106 meters, latitude and longitude, and the name. And we were able to call up the dorm of this particular individual because they're at Pepperdine University. And because the pin was right on top of the dorm, got a hold of an RA. And I said, hey, I need to talk to Chris in the dorm. They're like, Chris who? I'm like, oh, Snooze. And the guy's like, oh yeah, Snooze. And they forwarded the phone over to Chris. And as soon as Chris answered the phone, I was like, stop trying to hack my website. And I swear to God, you heard him crap his pants, which I thought was a lot of fun as well. So really cool stuff, right? And you've got to trick an attacker into believing it's okay. You can embed this into a variety of different apps. One of my favorites is a fake VNC app. So somebody comes to a website and they're going to run a Java applet. Java applets are ancient and almost any like modern environment won't have them, but really, really super old insecure environments do in fact have them. In fact, let's go to, here we go. Let's go to this and I'm going to new share over to right here. If we go back to Shodan, I might need to upgrade my Shodan account, actually. I might have a problem with this, but you can actually find VNC servers. You log in. Images.shodan.io. got to be careful with this. So we can do port 5900, which is VNC. And let's see how many it found. I hope it doesn't come back and say I need an enterprise. There we go. So we've only got 14 results, and I think that's because I don't have an enterprise key. But these are all VNC systems, specifically webcam. If you get the commercial version, you can get this full SCADA ICS. This is funny because there we go. This is really funny because you used to be able to get access to a ton of SCADA ICS systems, and Shodan has really started pulling their punches. Yeah, these are all live camera views that you can see. So that's kind of funny. So there you go. So yeah, this stuff works, right? And you've got to try to trick an attacker into doing these things, right? And the Black Friday gets you the license that I have. The enterprise license is more expensive. And I'm going to upgrade my license, I think, here shortly, probably right after class. So I got invited. Actually, let me demo it real quick. And like I said, you have the instructions for the lab on your system. So it all kind of hinges on this right here. Oh, wrong command. Right here, where I can run NetSH WLAN show networks, and then I can add in mode equals BSSID. And this gives me the MAC address and the attenuation. And this is what you need to send to Google. So let's go ahead and let's give it a shot. Let's go ahead and I'm going to jump into Honeybadger. You all have the instructions on this. So let me share my screen correctly. There we go. So this is what it looks like. Let me go back over here and rerun it for you all. NetSH WLAN show networks mode equals BSSID gives me these BSSIDs and the signal strength. And this is what I need to send to Google. All right. So now this is Honeybadger, and I'm just going to go through the instructions. So for this, go ahead and close that one out. Open this one here like that. And what we do to actually get Honeybadger up and running is we CD into opt Honeybadger. I think I need to go into server, right? And then I go history. And inside the history, I actually have the Honeybadger keys for you all. I don't put them in the GitHub documentation. I know that seems stupid, but putting in Google keys into the system seems to me like a really bad idea. But you need these keys for Honeybadger to basically interact with Google and pull it down. So there we go. So now I have Honeybadger up and running on this IP address, and I'm going to open up Firefox and use that. And I'm using Firefox because its copy and paste functionality just works better. I just want to start browsing Firefox. Thank you. Let's try this again. Here we are. So we're logging in as ADHD. Go ahead and save it. And we have some data populated, and you all, if you don't have Honeybadger, you can actually play with it. But we have some stuff here, which is where I'm at. We're going to get one here in just a second. But we can also zoom in, unlike old Louisville, Kentucky. I've got some data populated from back in the days with DerbyCon. So I had that. But let's actually go through how we set this up. So we need to set up a target. So I'm going to create a target name called class, like that. Let's call it class 3. And I'm going to add it. And with this, I can do vb.net. I can generate a macro, and I'm going to generate vb.net. Now at this point, it should be copied into my buffer. So let's go ahead and go into Notepad++. That. No. Here we go. See if it worked. Nope, it didn't. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste it directly from this here. Copy, paste. There we go. All right. So I've got it copied, I've got it pasted. Now I'm going to save it. And if this is the code that's going to execute right here, it's going to run PowerShell netsh WLAN show networks equals BSSID. It's going to write it out to a text file, and then it's going to encode it to base 64, and then it's going to send it to my Honey Badger system. So let's go ahead and let's go File, Save As. I'm just going to save it into Tools here. And I'm going to call it, I'm just going to recall it honey.vba. You want to set it up as a Visual Basic application. There we go. Honey.vb, save it. We'll replace it. There we go. Let's try that again. File, save as. And I'll just call it 2. Honey 2, just because I'm confused why it's throwing errors. All right, so now one of the problems that you run into with Microsoft, it's kind of a big problem, is I can give you all a VM all the time, and it's great, right? You guys can use a VM. Microsoft really doesn't care like all that much. People get Microsoft Windows virtual machines in classes. They're pretty cool about that as a whole. Problem where Microsoft gets really, really super touchy is when you give out Office. So I cannot give you copies of Microsoft Office at all. So to get around that, because I want people to see how this works, we've given you Mono. That sounds really weird. So Mono allows us to convert that Visual Basic application into an executable. All right, so here we go. That. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use the Visual Basic compiler, and we're going to run it against tools, and we're going to run it against Honey 2, right? There we go. Honey2.vb. It's going to convert it into an executable. Now we have a straight executable. So now it'll execute in the same way it would if somebody was importing it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. So I can do VB. Let's actually, no, let's go to Honey. There we go. So I'm going to run Honey 2. It's going to execute, run. Hopefully it doesn't throw any errors. And then it's going to reach back to my Linux computer system, and it's going to dump in the wireless networks that are nearby. So it takes a few moments to run. There we go. Click OK. We can do this. Here we are. All right, so let's go and check our logs for this. Here we go. So these are the SSIDs associated. Oh, wait a minute. Looks like it didn't run right. What the hell? Connection to the server could not be established. Did I still have my firewall? Uh-oh. I think my demo's blowing up here, folks. There, it's making its connections. Oh, here we go. All right, so now we're getting in the connection, and it's not processing wireless data. I don't know what the hell's going on there. It should be working. I think I killed it too soon. Is probably what happened. But at any rate, so if we look at the map, we have some data here, and let's zoom in on where I am. So there's our beacon right here. And this, if I actually change the map over to satellite right here, this is our office. So I was able to geolocate at about a block away from where we're at. How cool is that? I think that's terrifying, right? And I want you to kind of look at this as, let's say that you're an attacker, right? And you can do this too at home if you all want to. You totally can. Go ahead and give it a shot. You got the Honey Badger code. It does work a lot better on a real system, not a virtual machine. Virtual machines are kind of flaky. So if you have a real system at home that you can play with, you totally can do that. And that works. So kind of the last story I want to tell today, and then we'll kind of close things out. So the first time that we actually set this up and set this code up, because it's an executable, it makes it so it's portable. It is in history, right? So if you do a search in your history on your Linux system, the key is present in history. So I got called out a long time ago. I want to say it was like 2013. I got a request to come out and do some security consulting for a large bank in Germany, which all banks in Germany are terrifying. And they wanted me to come out over Thanksgiving. And that was really sad. I didn't want to leave my family over Thanksgiving. And I gave them a proposal that was basically a go away proposal. That was like, here's something that's twice the dollar amount that I would normally charge. I sent that to the bank, and the bank was basically like, immediately they signed it. They said, that's a great rate. This is back when I was way too cheap. And they signed the double rate, and they sent me a purchase order, and it was in euros. And at that time, euros were at 150% the value of dollars. So it was doubled, and then a 50% surcharge on top of that again. So I go downstairs to my wife and I'm like, honey, I've got a problem. I'm probably going to be in Germany during Thanksgiving. And I feel really, really, really bad about that. And my wife got mad, justifiably so. Not mad at her being mad at all. Just she was completely in the right. And then I showed her the contract. She looked at the contract, set it down on the counter, and immediately started walking upstairs. And I'm like, honey, we got to talk about this. She goes, no, we don't. I'm going upstairs to pack. So we took our entire family to Germany because of this contract. And we were there for a couple of weeks. I've been to Germany a couple of times for different banks and different groups over the years. And I've had a couple of customers and employees in Germany. So I like going and hanging out in Germany. And we flew into Germany and we landed, and my wife got the hotel room. Now the customer was like, dude, you got to stay at the Hilton. The Hilton's like a block away from where we're at. Please stay there and just expense it in. And because the contract, they covered my expenses. My wife was booking the hotels, and the hotel rooms were like $450 a night. And we had kids, and she was like, no way, I'm going to go find someplace cheaper. And she did. She found a cheaper place that was really close to the train station in this town, and super excited. It wasn't a hostel. That would have been an upgrade. But she wanted to get on the trains and go out and explore Germany while I was working and doing all these things. We landed, got on the train, went downtown, got off the train, brought up my phone to find out where the hotel was, started walking around, and the alley that it was taking us down was this alley where all the lights were pink. That was a bit strange. So we showed up and we walked down to the hotel. It was an hotel because the H was burnt out. And it was one of those really classy places that has like an electric gate over it and a button that you have to push to gain access to the hotel. So we went up, we pushed the button. It was like, and it was a hotel that catered to American clientele. And the lady on the intercom was just basically like, what do you want? Oh, you aren't seeing where this is going. I am so sorry. You don't know where this is going yet. And we said, hey, we're here to check in. And she's like, oh my God, you have a family. The gate's open. Quick, come up. So we unlock the gate and we go upstairs, and she's there. She's like, oh man, I didn't know that you guys had a family. Here, I'll make you some food. I'm going to send someone up to put new carpet in your room. I'm like, what? Sure enough, this dude comes walking out the back with a big old roll of carpet over his shoulder and then walks upstairs. Yeah, I had my kids with me. So this guy goes upstairs to put in new carpet in our room. And the lady was absolutely a sweetheart. She had food, she was feeding the family, and she's like, we don't get a lot of families here. And we're like, clearly you don't. So they put new carpet in the room, and we went upstairs, and it was like the most half-assed job of carpet laying you've ever imagined. They rolled the carpet out. It was all jagged and cut. It was like that dog rolling out, but worse. And it was like a mat. And we get into the room and we're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? This sucks. There's bars on the windows. We should have gone to the Hilton. Couldn't find another room because there was a plastic convention in town at that time. So it was just a really, really, really big problem. So we get the kids, we had 2 rooms adjoined with the doorway in between. The kids are laying down and they're going to sleep in their room. We're in our room. We all get tucked in and the guy comes back in, just like unlocks the door, walks in. We're in bed. Like he didn't knock or anything, just bolts into the bedroom and comes in, gets right up next to me and says, "Don't let the kids turn on the televisions." And then proceeds to go to the televisions and unplug the TVs, which naturally for my kids is just like, well, now we gotta plug these TVs back in. That's just something we've got to do. So we had to fight that the whole time that we were there. It turns out that the televisions, just for the record, the televisions like had every channel had a different type of porn on it. And that's why he unplugged the televisions. So it was like, wow, that's something. This is one of those places. It was actually really close to the subway. So we could get out, drop down into the subway in less than a block, and then get access to trains and go everywhere, which was pretty cool. But it was kind of funny. One of the times we were walking out and I'm with my family and we were going to dinner. And there was this one lady that shouted out to me. She's like, "Hey, honey, looking for a good time?" But in a German accent. And my kids immediately responded with, "Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are." It's like, no, we aren't kids. They were like, "Why are there balloon machines on every single street corner?" It's just like, oh my God. But no, it was a great family experience. We had a good time. At any rate, back to the narrative. After 2 weeks of working at this bank, doing cyber deception, this is what we got. We had over like 200 hits on our attributional technology. And we did a reverse lookup on every single one of these ASN and IP ranges. And we were able to find 3 systems that were compromised that their IDS, IPS, AV firewall missed. Folks, this is cyber threat intelligence. This is what we should be looking at for cyber threat intelligence. Not something we bought from somebody else that was an attack that happened a month ago, but now that's what we're looking for. So that's what we need to do. All right. This is another time we took over a botnet back in 2013, and we set up this technology and we were able to pinpoint every single person who was in charge of that botnet, hand it over to law enforcement. Law enforcement seriously did not know what to do with it. So I already walked through Honey Badger, and these, you need to have it. It is somewhat of an issue when you're running through a VM. So be careful. You do have to have a physical Ethernet card to get it to work. So I wanted to tie this up and close this out so we can get done a little bit as well. You just need to Google just how to get Google APIs, developer APIs, and you're good to go. I don't even know because they change it all the time. They change it all the time on that. So we're talking about utilizing limited offensive actions, and we're trying to move away from this idea of passive defense. And I'm revisiting some of the slides that we talked about, right? I'm trying to revisit those slides so we get an idea of how this all fits, right? We're using the attacker's momentum against them. They're excited. They think they're going to get access to systems, but nope, they're totally not going to get access to those systems at all. And we go back to the algorithm. Detection time plus reaction time must be less than the amount of time it takes for an attacker to break into a computer system. We're trying to change these formulas. We're trying to come back to Sun Tzu. All information warfare is based on deception. There's no place where espionage is not used. Offer the enemy bait, lure them in. Take that, right? Just take that. Going back to the APT wheel of pain, right? We now have really good tools where we can insert our cyber deception at a number of different points to mess with the attacker's ability to successfully attack. Going back to the Albert Einstein slide at the beginning of class, we're all doing the same thing over and over again and constantly expecting different results. And we need to move beyond that. We desperately need to move beyond that. OODA loops, increase your ability to observe and orient. Decrease the attacker's ability to observe and orient. If they have crappy observations, they're going to orient improperly. They're going to make crap decisions, and they're going to make actions that allow you to detect them. The more actions they take to better observe, the more observation data that they have to sample are increased opportunities for you to detect the attackers. Once again, we can lie, misdirect, divert, deceive, obfuscate, and delay. Right. Cyber kill chains. I like the unified cyber kill chain. I'm probably going to switch over to that. A little pissed about Lockheed Martin literally taking the ideas from SANS 504, like no joke. The whole idea of what Lockheed Martin put in the cyber kill chain is they stole 504 and they said, hey, let's just call this the cyber kill chain. And that makes me mad. But at any rate, it's a really, really catchy name. But if we're looking at all of this, let's go through and look at it. So this is from the kill chain. We've got all of these different empty areas that exist over here. We can totally fill in those empty areas right here. Hold on, right here with tools that allow us to start changing the game against the attackers. We can totally do this as well. All right. So I just wanted to kind of close out today. I've got to get going. We're usually done an hour early today, so you get an hour back in your life. But it's all about trying to change the game, actively engaging the enemy, disrupting OODA loops, and then trying to affect that equation. And we're getting away from the easy button of just waiting for a tool to tell us magically that a hack has occurred, and we're trying to actively engage the attacker. So take the initiative. And we have some cool slides here. It's your house. That is the single greatest thing that you have. It isn't your AV. It isn't your firewall. It isn't your SIM, because literally thousands of companies have the exact same technology that you do, but it's your house and you know the house better than anybody else. Be a little techno Kevin McAllister, right? All right. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for a great week. Be sure to check out some of the things that we have in an active defense and all of those different things. With the Cloud VM, you may need to restart it. It only runs for 4 hours. You may need to rerun it as well. So with that, thank you so much and get out of here. I hope to see you all in oh, wait. I forgot something. I forgot closing ceremonies. Don't leave yet. I forgot one thing. We've got to call out our thank yous. One of the things that we work on constantly at BHIS, Black Hills Information Security and Anti-Siphon Security Training, is gratitude. We don't look at our customers as people that we try to milk for as much money as we possibly can. We don't look at it as, well, if we can raise our rates, we're going to totally raise our rates because we can. We're kind of like Costco's hot dog. If anybody ever tells me that we're raising the cost on the hot dog, they will be fired. You know, it's all about this pay what you can model. It's all about all of these different things, making it affordable for people to take some of these trainings. So I want to call out and I want to say thank you to a couple of people. The first thing I would like to add from my usual thank you tirade is I would like to say thank you to the good competitors in the security world. People like Cyber Mentor are amazing. The people like Udemy, Coursera, you have IPSEC, you have John Hammond, you have Secure Ideas. I am truly and deeply honored in the fact that my best competitors are my best friends. Cyber Mentor is coming out and keynoting Wild West Hacking Fest, and I'm truly humbled that he's doing that. We had John Hammond keynote last year. These people are awesome. So I want to say thank you to them first. I also want to say thank you to the people that paid for this course. You people financially make this course possible for all of us. If you notice, we've got a team here, right? We've got Jason, we've got Megan, we've got Deb and Jason, we've got the time traveling nerd herder. It costs money to have these people here. And the people that pay make it so that we can continue doing this. So please say thank you to them for the money that they give us, that they don't have to give us, is truly an honor. And it's been humbling to me how well received this has been over the past few years. The other people that I want to say thank you to is the people that did not pay. And, you know, I've given this speech a lot over the past couple of years, but I want to call out the people that did not pay. The genesis of this course, the genesis of what we do, originated during COVID, right at the beginning, where we wanted to open up people that were disadvantaged. We wanted to open up to people that we normally don't have in IT security. You have African Americans, you have women, you have Native Americans, Pacific Islanders. And then, yeah, you also have white dudes in flyover America that are working construction or driving trucks. They don't have opportunities either. And we were talking about scholarships, and we opted to get away from scholarships because while I think that scholarships mean well, you have organizations like, we gave a scholarship to these disadvantaged people over here. They don't do a goddamn thing to change the game. They don't move the needle. They help those people, and there's no denying that they help those people. Their heart is usually in the right place, and there's no denying that their hearts are in the right place, but it doesn't fundamentally alter the structure of discrimination in this field. And before you get all worked up and you're like, oh my God, stay with me for a second. All discrimination that exists, all barriers that exist, come down to one simple thing: money. Women that can't get into IT security oftentimes can't get into it because they don't have the financial capability to get into it. Men that can't get into it, the people that are working construction, the people that are sloughing burgers, they can't get into it because they don't have the finances to do it, to be able to get into it. People in African-American, disadvantaged African-American communities, Native American communities, Pacific Islander communities do not have a support network where their family has a history of going to college and saying, hey, you should just go to college, is like telling someone to build a rocket ship and go to Mars. So the only way that we destroy the barriers in this industry is if we destroy the barrier of money. So we decided that this is what we were going to do. I don't care if you're Black, white, gray, Hispanic, Native American, gay, trans, straight, conservative, liberal. I do not care. I just want you to come into this industry. I just want you to be part of this industry with me and other people, because the opportunities are great. The work is great. We have our problems on Twitter every once in a while, but this is a great place to be. And this is how we burn the damn gates down, by doing pay what you can, by making things so it's affordable to everybody, not just the people we give scholarships to, but literally everyone. And that's how we do it. And I want to say thank you to the people who didn't pay. And the reason why is simple. I grew up very, very blue collar. I am the first person in my family to go to college. I honestly didn't understand the idea of college until I was a senior in high school. It made no sense to me. Why would you go to school after you went to school? This doesn't make any sense. I understand what it's like to have shoes that are duct taped together. I understand what it's like to be hungry. I understand what it's like to see parents crying at the kitchen table because they don't have enough money to get gas to get you to school. I was there. I know what it's like. I also know what it's like for parents to work 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And for those people, everything in their life is boiled down to time. How much do they make per hour? And every time you make a decision to do something that you're not making money to feed your family, you're making a decision to be in a class with a crack-addled ADHD squirrel to learn a new skill, to move into a new career. And in doing so, you're taking time away from your kids. You're taking time away from your loved ones. You're taking time away from yourself. And that means you didn't pay. That means your time is precious in ways that many people who can afford classes like this, many people will never understand. So I want everyone to give a round of applause for the people that didn't pay, because they paid in time, and that's all that they have. So once again, thank you so much to all of you for being part of this. And I have one small request. When you see us talking about pay what you can classes, when you see us with affordable classes, Anti-Siphon is an organization that our goal is to break even. Our goal is not to make a ridiculous amount of profit or a 90% profit or to exploit our instructors or our customers. Help us amplify the signal. Help us amplify what we are doing. Help amplify the Cyber Mentor. help amplify and normalize cyber range challenges that are freely available and making that a certification that people get jobs in. We don't need college degrees. We don't need expensive certs. We don't need expensive training. We need to help each other. And if you can help us amplify that message, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much, everybody. With that, get out of here. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you soon in a new class. Thanks.